There you go. Thanks, everybody, for putting up with my antics for the first 8 minutes and 30 seconds of this meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. And I think we start with the pledge. Is that correct? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. Let's get it started. Secretary, I think you doing a roll call?
Yes. Chair Monroe, he did notify me that he was going to be absent due to a family obligation. Vice Chair Garcia
Present.
will be chairing this meeting. Commissioner Harrell?
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Absent. Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Present.
You have 4 present. You have quorum.
Fantastic. All right, and then we've got the first community forum. Do we have any? We have to read it. Anyone wishing to address the commission on any matter for which another opportunity to speak is not provided on the agenda and which is within the jurisdiction of the commission to resolve is requested to submit a completed speaker card to the commission secretary. When called upon, each speaker should step to the podium, state his or her name, and address for the record. The conduct of the community forum shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, with each speaker limited to 3 minutes.
Through the chair, currently do not have any members of the public signed up either in person or online. However, there is a timer on the top left corner of your screens reflecting the time available for people to sign up. Feel free to carry on with the agenda, and if anybody signs up by the time of the conclusion of that timer, I will let you know.
Great, fantastic, thanks so much. Next, we have is the approval of the agenda and the meeting minutes. So 5A is approval of the May 13th, 2026 meeting agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for May 13th, 2026.
Second.
You can call both items in one single motion, provided that you are stating any changes that you might make to either the January or the April meeting
So
minutes.
A and B.
Yeah, you can do that. So we can do one single roll call.
I think my only question, I guess, to colleagues is we have one item here from January 14th, 2026. I understand that means we can approve that if folks were either A, present, or B, reviewed the video of the meeting. Do the 4 of us feel like we can do that, or at least 2 of us, it seems?
All were present for that meeting.
Okay, great. And is it the same secretary for April 8th as well?
Commissioner Williams was absent for April.
Okay, and do we need a quorum to approve those
But
minutes?
she might have reviewed the tape or the recording of the meeting. Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Senator Williams counts, Madam Chair, sorry. She would count towards the quorum. She just would have to abstain from the vote.
Okay. So Attorney Nebb, am I hearing? Thank you for joining us. Hi. And so am I hearing correctly that we can vote to approve with quorum with 2 to 3 votes? Is that correct? Great.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve agenda and meeting minutes for January 14th, April 8th, and an approval of the agenda for today, May 13th.
Second.
Okay, let's call it. Vice Chair Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Abstain.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
And motion carries. You have an approved agenda.
Great. And then we'll move on to our first presentation, which is item 6A. I'd like to invite the Executive Director, David Hubble, from the Workforce Development Board of Solano County. Hi, welcome. You're looking at me puzzled, and I'm looking around also equally puzzled. Does anybody know how to get the presentation up by chance? Uh-oh. Ah, just in time. It's okay. Thanks for jogging, all in a day's works. Perfect.
Workforce Board of Solano County. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm hoping that we can have a conversation and that I can share with you the current workforce landscape, not only in Vallejo, but also the greater Solano County area. I plan to talk about the challenges and opportunities that we face and what the Workforce Development Board is doing to help mitigate those challenges and then help support the opportunities. Okay, all right, there we go. So here's the agenda of what I plan to talk about today. So first, I'll briefly talk about the current market environment and the impacts on the workforce in Vallejo and Solano County. After all, intelligence does drive operations, right, and our economic decisions, right? And so we need to pay attention to those. And then I'll briefly go over the current and future opportunities here in Vallejo and how the Workforce Development Board is supporting these opportunities. Okay, so everyone here in this meeting should probably significantly aware of these significant business closures that has happened here in Vallejo and the greater Solano County area. And while some of these businesses were not located specifically in Vallejo, every one of them on this slide here has had many workers that lived here in Vallejo, right? We're tracking Anheuser-Busch, 237 layoffs announced in December. They closed their doors in February. Mare Island Dry Dock, more than 80 maritime ship repair, highly skilled folks, that received their pink slips back in January. I would say the most significant one of all is the Vallejo oil refinery closure. That they finally closed their doors a little more than a month ago. But it's not just the 237 workers that were laid off. More significantly, we're talking about an oil refinery, right? And the impacts that it's had on our economy. Anyone who's gone to fill up their gas tank recently has seen the rise in gas prices. Of course, we can attribute a lot of that to, we read the national news, what's going on with the Iran war, but that has also been compounded by having a refinery closure in our own backyard that has contributed to those rising fuel costs, right? So the impacts has not just been on those dislocated workers, but it's impacted all of us in our pocketbooks, and then specifically for our small businesses and economy here in Vallejo, it's impacted the cost of doing business with the rise in fuel price, right? So Vallejo is a big one on this list. We're also, of course, tracking the announcement by the Vallejo City School District, which here in the next couple of weeks, they're going to be closing out the semester. 17 to 20% of their staff is going to be receiving their pink slips, right? That's more than 200 personnel. And these are folks, it's coming at a critical time when we talk about economic development, when the needs for our youth in K through 12, particularly in career technical education, that can provide a talent pipeline to local industry, right? Their needs are great, and there's going to be a reduced staff. And then finally, Harbinger Productions manufacturing company right here on Mare Island. They announced their closure a couple of months ago, but they finally actually closed their doors about 2 weeks ago. 290 folks who were laid off. These are the folks we are seeing coming through our doors right now. These folks did not receive severance packages. These folks do not have any social safety net unless they go out and look for it. Since last Friday alone, we have had more than 50 people from Vallejo that work for Harbinger come through our doors seeking our services and support. So altogether, that's more than 900 folks that have received their pink slips in just the last couple of months. Our impact scenarios indicate that this is not the end. It's a domino effect. Worst case scenario, we can expect more than 2,000 people who are going to be laid off or dislocated workers by the end of the year. Okay, another current environment situation that's going to impact our economic development, and that's the impacts of H.R. 1. For those who are not familiar with H.R. 1, it's the law of the land. This is the 8-hour work requirement thing, right? So for those who receive CalFresh benefits, food stamps, in 2 weeks, they'll be at risk of losing their benefits unless they are actively engaged in work, some kind of job training, some kind of education, some kind of community service, some kind of volunteer service, right? And then in January, that will extend to those who are Medi-Cal recipients. We are partnering right now with County Health and Social Services, and these numbers that you see up right here is actually a little bit higher. Yes, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to receive exemptions, but out of the 52,000 people in Solano County, many of them here in Vallejo, who receive CalFresh benefits, it is expected that at least 8,000 are going to be targeted to lose their benefits starting in 2 weeks. And for Medi-Cal, out of the 130,000 people in our county that receive that medical coverage, 30,000 are in danger of losing their medical benefits, right? By the way, and to make matters even more challenging, while the federal government has implemented this law, they have given us no guidance, no policy direction on how to vet these 80 hours. No systematic approach at all. They just said, go to it, right? And so what we are doing is we've partnered with the Health and Social Services to put together a community of practice. So on June 17th will be our first meeting. We've extended invites out to employers. We've extended invites out to other leaders of agencies. We've extended invites out to faith-based organizations and community-based organizations. The RSVP has been very high. We're expecting a full and packed audience. More than 100 people are going to be in attendance. Space is limited, but for those here on this committee who believe that they can make a difference and an impact and help us solve this particular issue, I will, stick around for after this meeting, and I'll, feel free to give you the information that you need to be invited to this community of practice. Okay. And then finally, it goes without saying, the impacts of artificial intelligence, right? It's here, it's now, it's not going away. And with it comes the challenges and opportunities. Now, in the coming years ahead, we can expect significant job displacement in basically the knowledge-based work, kind of work that many of us do, right? Administrative work, finance, customer service. Now, we have not seen currently any layoffs that can be directly attributed to artificial intelligence here in Vallejo or in Solano County, but you can think of it like an earthquake. We need to be prepared for it, right, at this time. Of course, artificial intelligence also brings many opportunities for the local economy and the workforce, right? So I've also listed some industries that I would call AI resistant. healthcare, the skilled trades, advanced manufacturing, maritime, by the way, a lot of the things that Vallejo is focusing on, right? Construction, because these are the kind of jobs that still need human hands to do the work. And then, of course, as far as this impact on small businesses, this can be a fantastic thing for small business owners, right? It helps them to be more creative, balance the books. It helps them to be more efficient in kind of the menial task and where they can concentrate more of their capital on new creative ideas. Okay, so now a brief discussion, and sorry if this looks like a boring slide, but on current and future industry opportunities and where workforce development can play a role in supporting these opportunities for Vallejo. I've read the exceptional, I hope everyone here on the panel here has had the opportunity to read 134-page City of Vallejo Strategic Plan for Maritime Revitalization. That was compiled by the Roosevelt Group. I'm probably not the first person to say it, but maritime is the golden ticket moving forward for Vallejo's future economic prosperity. My colleague, who happens to be here tonight, Chris Rico, CEO of the Solano EDC, can speak with a lot more expertise on the economic impacts of maritime. But I can say, as leader of the Workforce Development Board, that centering Vallejo on the maritime industry will have a positive impact on all the other industries that Vallejo is currently focused on. I mean, for example, construction. Maritime could be a driver of long-term construction projects, revitalizing and building out the infrastructure that's needed for the maritime industry, right? As well as additional potential housing that's going to be needed for incoming workers for that industry. It can also provide the city revenue to help revitalize downtown Vallejo, right? And make it into a vibrant location that folks are going to want to go to. Maritime will bring with it opportunities in advanced manufacturing that will, as it focuses on the supply chain of 21st century shipbuilding and ship repair. And what Yvette asked me to comment on wholesale business, software, and film. These are really, to be honest, in the big picture, these are secondary type industry opportunities. But if these industries focus on a maritime identity, then they can find success. So I'll just say it 3 times: maritime, maritime, maritime. The phrase "a rising tide lifts all boats" applies very literally to Vallejo. But here's the challenge from a workforce development standpoint, and this is why I bring it up. If you're to do a scan of the adult workforce and our youth here in Vallejo, there is no awareness of maritime, and it's in our own backyard. Our folks are not currently equipped with the skill sets they need. If these industries were to come, we want to hire here in Vallejo first, right? But we need to make sure that those skill sets are available to be learned here in Vallejo. And that's where the Workforce Development Board comes in to assist. So to quote from the strategic plan that I just mentioned a moment ago, there's a wide range of professions in the maritime industry that are needed. And what does that look like? Welders, electricians, machinists, inspectors, maintenance personnel, engineers, digital system talent. Heck, we need leaders, future supervisors who understand the realities of the modern maritime manufacturing. Now, our current career technical education at Vallejo City School District is not aligned with the maritime industry, and it brings it up in this study that I just mentioned. So together with the Solano County Office of Education, we've been working to remedy that. On February 12th, with the assistance of County Board of Supervisor Cassandra James, we met with career technical education directors from the school district and industry leaders in maritime to get the conversation. how they can, what they need to get these maritime skills taught in K through 12. We did it again on March 24th at the county level, which of course included the same stakeholders from Vallejo. And then just this past week on May 7th, the County Office of Education and I met with Clinton Shewart. He's the point of contact for the U.S. Navy's submarine industrial base workforce development. And along with his colleague, Professor Jose Anaya from El Camino College, to have visceral, into-the-weeds discussions about maritime curriculum that can be brought to the Vallejo City School District. And now our next meetings in the following weeks are to connect these folks that I just talked about with our career technical education directors in K through 12 here in Vallejo, right? It's time to stop talking about it and let's make this happen. Our goal is to get maritime career technical education in K through 12 for school year 28-29. That's how long it takes to build out the curriculum, get the space, and equip the training facility, and to start cohorts. The U.S. Navy has also agreed that this upcoming school year to start a maritime awareness campaign in our middle schools. They're going to make 4 visits in our middle schools here in the upcoming school year in Vallejo, just talking about maritime, what it is, what does this look like, right? And then, so that's the K through 12 piece. And then finally, we also have a relationship with the Working Waterfront that you're all, I'm sure, aware of, to help us with the adult age population who are seeking to get training to work into the maritime industry. So that's from a workforce development framework. This is the role that we play to support the emerging industries that are coming into Vallejo. Pending your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hubble. Before we take questions, I wanted to say a couple of things. One, thank you so much for your presentation. 2, you extended the very gracious offer of staying to the end of our meeting, not knowing how long our meetings are. And so I would like to say to you that if you have a card or other contact information, you're welcome to leave it, and we will take no offense to you departing before sunset.
Will do, and I've got handouts too I can leave behind. So.
And then the third thing before I open it up for questions, because my colleagues know that I have no shortage of them, we'll try to limit our time to maybe 10 minutes. I think that that's what we had discussed before. So if we each have questions, maybe 2 to 3 minutes per person, and that should get us on the way. And we can revisit that, of course, if we get into a meaty discussion.
Through the chair, just a really brief announcement for the record that Commissioner Gonzalez arrived at 6:17. Anybody viewing at home, she's present.
Fantastic. Welcome. All right, with that, do we have questions? Commissioner Harrell?
Thank you for your report. Appreciate it. There was a significant, and there is a significant concentration on the maritime possibilities. But we're looking at a minimal 3-year window. And based on the schools and the education system we have here in Vallejo and the budget constraints that are impacting California schools, if not schools all over the country, I would push that out to another 2 or 3 years. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. In the interim, and alternatively, is workforce development doing anything to develop the skill set using AI technology? Because that's a vast market, a vast subject matter that can stabilize many people in their jobs, because if they know AI, they'll have a job. If they don't know, they won't. So is there any plans or concentration on utilizing the available tools in the immediate future as opposed to looking out 3, 4, or 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a great question. As I mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence is not the future; it's here now, right? So, so first things first. we are now we need to build my own staff capacity to use artificial intelligence. I know I have a staff of about 30 folks. There's some who are like really high skilled in using artificial intelligence. It's great for grant writing, by the way. And you know, that are just using it fantastically right now. There are other folks in my on my staff that, you know, still on Facebook kind of thing, you know what I mean, as far as no artificial intelligence skills whatsoever. I know I'm deficient in artificial intelligence. The other thing is like the awareness and the impacts of artificial intelligence on the workforce is the big unknown question. And so, okay, training them in artificial intelligence, got it. Like how to use the tools, right? We're working with the adult schools right now. In fact, we just had this conversation this past week with the adult schools, specifically Fairfield Sassoon, but like brought with to include here in Vallejo as well. We're going to wrap them in about offering some courses in artificial intelligence that we can bring into them. The one challenge that we have as far as workforce development dollars goes is the funding that we receive must and can only be used to train people that leads into an industry recognized credential. And artificial intelligence is a new tool and a new skill. You know, 30 years ago it was Excel and, you know, PowerPoint and all this sort of stuff. That is like a secondary credential at this point. And so even when the adult schools get this into their program offerings, unless it has an industry recognized credential, we can't pay for the training. Okay, so that being said, we've brought this is a big concern, right? We have brought that up in discussion. I was just at a WorkCon in Southern California this last week, right? And we had a representative of the Department of Labor, who's the regional director for the Western Region Department of Labor, talking about artificial intelligence training opportunities and how we have to listen to the industries, the industry demands, so that we can train them, in the skills that they need. Well, then when it came to Q&A, there's 400 people in the audience. I was the first person to raise my hand, and I said, okay, you know what this artificial intelligence industry is promising? To take away human jobs. So what do you want us to train them in? And the Department of Labor response was no response, except for what I just talked about earlier, the AI-resistant job occupations. Those are the ones. So yes, our young folks, our old folks need to shore up and get skilled on how to use the tools of artificial intelligence, right, to make them more marketable. But just as importantly, we need to be prepared for the potential significant job disruptions and dislocated workers in the professional degree category, those of us with college degrees, et cetera, because that can be a big impact on us.
Thank you, Mr. Hubble. I'm going to turn to my other colleagues and just see if there are other questions.
I have a question.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's encouraging to hear about the work that is to hopefully be done with VCUSD. We do have 3 high schools. 2 of them are traditional high schools, 1 continuation high school. So I kind of have a couple questions. The model or the vision that you have for this program, I know Vallejo High School already has an engineering academy. Is this going to be an integration, or will this be a new pathway, a standalone pathway? And also I'm thinking about Maritime Academy, and I'm thinking about big space, big stuff. And some of these are specialty. Are we thinking about having some off-site lab time, or is this being thought of on-site? And my last question would be, is this going to impact all of our high school student population from all 3 high schools?
Yeah, so to your first question, yes, we're going to include the continuation school and, as well as the charter schools, every K through 12 institution, right? The second piece, as far as the engineering course at CTE, there's no need to completely change, the wheel or whatever the expression is. But we will integrate maritime awareness into the CTE curriculum, right? For that. As far as our partnership and the role that Cal Poly Maritime plays, of course, I've taken the tour there. I've walked and talked with Corey Cook, and he's a fantastic visionary person, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the I'll say tragedies. He has over 900 students there, on his campus, right? You could probably count on two hands how many people come from Vallejo, right, on his campus, in his own backyard. And I remember taking the tour of his campus, and he had a student who was a senior, right, who was kind of given the walking, talking tour, right? And we asked her, when she graduates, what she was going to be, right? And she was going to be a shipboat captain for a cruise ship, right? And I thought to myself, I have a daughter who's a junior in high school, right? And that night over dinner, I was talking with her, and I said, hey, how do you like to be a cruise ship captain, right? All you got to do is go down to school right down here at Cal Poly Maritime, right? So his big ask in that tour that we had, that was, we need awareness of maritime in our K through 12. Mm-hmm. We need career technical education in our K through 12. They have recruiting shortages too. They want to get at a capacity of up to 2,000 students at Cal Poly Maritime. Mm-hmm. And they're having to recruit all across the country, but can't recruit in their own backyard because of the lack of awareness here. So where does that start? K through 12. That's directly from Cal Poly Maritime. So they are partnering with us in this effort to get maritime in the K through 12 curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. Hubble. I will be a couple minutes over, but hopefully folks can entertain just a couple of questions. I think for me, building on some of the maritime work, I'm curious to know how much of your county work is actually focused in Vallejo, given that spread. And also, part of the reason why this body was so interested in you coming is because we are charged with making some recommendations to council about future industries and actions they could take. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, what interventions do you think that as a municipality Vallejo could make to improve conditions for industry here?
Okay. So as far as the first piece, I would say about 1/3 of all those who are enrolled in our services for the entire county come from Vallejo, right? Okay. Especially when you look at how the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA funding is structured. It is primarily focused on many of the folks that you'll find here in Vallejo, right? Yes, we are actively involved in Vallejo. And of course, we have the local AGCC EDD location right here in Vallejo as well, that my staff is there every day as well. And I'm sorry, the second question, can you repeat that?
The second question is really what kinds of city interventions do you think that the city could take to improve the conditions for a better maritime industry, better AI training, et cetera? I'm hearing some things around education, but I'm curious to know if there's any city level policies, particularly since that's what this body is responsible for recommending.
Is like supporting the Vallejo City School District in CTE. Start building on the youth now, and then start promoting maritime, right? Through whatever means necessary. Those are the two things. And just, awareness campaigns is a great place to start. Get the conversation going. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'd recommend as far as intervention.
Great. Commissioner Harrell?
Just listening and observing educational systems, one of the challenges that we have, quite candidly, and the reason that scores are low in the public school systems here, is because the parents are not, shall we say, as educated for many of those students, resulting in lower household income and a variety of other challenges. So as you go through this process and we talk about educating or exposing the younger people to the possibilities that exist within the maritime industry, whether that be from shipbuilding or even travel or piloting a cruise ship, who knows. As we start to expose the children, my perception of the reality is that a parent that doesn't have any knowledge of these things cannot assist in guiding their children into a place that they can gain the knowledge or the education, whether that be simply going and looking at ships, whatever it might be, because we do have ships here on our waterfront. We've got them over at Maritime, at the university, et cetera. So if we're not looking at it holistically, and hence the reason I said about the workforce development relative to, AI is a tool. Yes, some people will be displaced. If you learn it as a tool, you'll figure something out. You'll be more hireable, that's for sure, or retainable. If we don't look at it holistically, parental through the child or child through the parent, however we want to place that, what kind of legs do you think we'll get?
Then it comes back to awareness campaigns. Okay, I'll give you an anecdotal example. I grew up in Fremont. Okay, and in 1980s, right? You looked around in Fremont, and it was nothing like it is today. Today, it is the advanced manufacturing capital certainly of the state, right? And I remember when I was going through middle school and high school, starting to see all these tech companies emerge. And I had no idea what they were about. And I didn't learn any of them when I was going through my high school years. And most importantly, when I saw these new companies emerging, Microsoft and all that kind of stuff, popping up right in my own backyard, my dad was an airplane mechanic. He didn't know how to grapple with it and talk about it. And I thought that was something that rich folks got into. And I thought that was something that was for somebody else, smart people, not for me. I was a working class kid, okay? You go to Fremont today, there is advanced EV career technical education classes in every high school that feed into the local community college at Ohlone Community College, that feed right into a job with Tesla or Zoox or Waymo or all these other autonomous vehicles that we see in pilot phase right now in San Francisco, right? More than 40 million square foot of advanced manufacturing space that's happening in Fremont. If I had been aware, if my old man had been aware that this was a career path that we can get into, we could have had that conversation. We never even had that conversation. So as it applies to Vallejo, I would say specifically to address that question, holding events, maritime events, awareness campaigns about what's coming to Vallejo. We have a proud history in Vallejo of shipbuilding. So that would be my response.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hubble. I think I will, we're at about 12 minutes on questions, I think, if I time this correctly. I don't know. Somebody could test me on that. But I think one thing that I wanted to synopsize is it sounds like you've, in addition to awareness campaigns, there are some short-term things that this commission, I would encourage us to think about around HR 1. Those are some short-term impacts that I think that we really need to think about what kinds of recommendations, and perhaps we can follow up with you to better understand some of those complexities, particularly since the rollout is in the next 2 weeks, it sounds like. And so we're talking about some very real short-term impacts and what the city should be doing to respond to those. So I think I'll take that as a note to follow up there. Some medium term, it sounds like there's some curriculum coming to the education system, which some of my colleagues have picked up on. And then some long-term visioning around awareness campaigns, I think are my big take homes. But I would love to make sure that we, as a body, stay in touch. So please definitely leave your contact information and hopefully get home before sunset.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we will, with that, we're going to move on to the other side of the coin, I think, in some respect, to item 6B, the update on the City Solano Economic Development Corporation MOU, collaborating and implementing the Moving Solano Forward economic development and marketing strategy. So we'll welcome Mr. Chris Rico, CEO of the EDC. I don't make up the agenda titles, so. Okay,
It came with the job.
great.
I'm both. Executive director. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for having me here to talk with you. I want to have a conversation. You guys seem to be curious people, so let's have a conversation about it. You know, there's context, and I'm grateful actually that I'm here after Dave, because not surprisingly, he and I work really closely together, particularly as it pertains to things with maritime. And then we both were at kind of a strike session to look at what we can do in support of all the displacements that are going to happen because of HR1. The people that are going to get kicked off of CalFresh, the people that are going to get kicked off of Medi-Cal. There's a lot going on. So I know the context was to talk about moving Solana Forward 3. I really want to pivot to really talk about the stuff that's been occupying most of my time, which is things that do pertain to maritime. You know, we are in a massive wave of divestment in Solano County right now. I've never had so many reporters stick microphones in my face asking me, hey, we hear Solano County is going to hell in a handbasket. Can you comment? And my comment is, yeah, there's challenges, but also there's opportunity. And the biggest opportunity pertains to maritime. Circumstantially, and I encourage you guys, if you haven't read the report from the Roosevelt Group, just run it through ChatGPT and get a summary of it, frankly. It's really useful. And Dave touched on some of these things in terms of your questions about strategies. They're in there.
Great.
The strategies are in that document about things that you guys could be focused on, that the city could and should be focused on in terms of preparedness. At the macro level, we have a really strong chance of getting an $8.5 million grant from the state of California, and we should hear about that imminently. And that's part of California Jobs First. It was originally called the Community Economic Resiliency Fund. It was ARPA funds that were allocated at the state level. When it was the Community Economic Resiliency Fund, it was really focused on privileging diverse communities, places where people had been victims of environmental injustice, and uplifting worker voice and sort of more grassroots. At some point, it changed to California Jobs First. And I can say that my colleagues in the 9 Bay Area counties, I'm on that steering committee, they didn't really get the memo that there had been a dramatic sea change of the purpose of the funds. Other regions did, and so in the first go-round, the first allocation of $80 million, there were other regions that got big chunks of money and the Bay Area got none. In the second round, there's $45 million left, and we are asking for $8.5 million. We are the only Bay Area proposal. We are working in partnership with workforce boards, with Cal Poly Maritime, with East Bay EDA, with the Bay Area Council, with WIDA, with California Forever, to put together this ecosystem. And if you read the work from the Roosevelt Group, they're very much aligned with what we're already doing, which is, this is a we all rise together, right? I think Vallejo allocating resources to hire the Roosevelt Group was one of the smartest things that they've done since I've been here, right? Like that decision, because those folks have juice. They have their ear to the ground. They're administration agnostic in terms of the relationships that they have and the power that they wield. So which is what you want, because if you think about maritime, Garamendi's been working across the aisle on bringing attention to our deficiencies nationally in maritime for 15 years. But I can say it's only the Trump administration, all the emphasis that they're putting on catching up with China right now, his sort of propensity to ignore norms, right, which is destructive in so many ways, but like makes them a lot more nimble in some instances, just to start deploying resources. And we can benefit from that, right? Like, and with this guidance from the Roosevelt Group, we're now positioned to benefit with Corey coming over and running what's now called Cal Poly Maritime. Them becoming a Polytechnic Institute was genius. it's night and day in terms of the amount of attention and resources that are flowing into that university, right? And we know, I don't know if you guys know this, but historically, that university, those graduates have highest placement rate of any university in the country. They come out and have really good jobs. And yet, they've been facing declines in enrollment, which you're like, how are these two things possible, right? This is the place you go to get a job. I don't know if you guys listened, they were just on NPR yesterday, they were chronicling one of the sister maritime institutions in SUNY, back in New York, and sort of the same narrative of like, this is the place you go if you want to get a job. So the good news is, Dave's here, you guys hired the Roosevelt Group, we have this application in front of the state, which will resource us and our peers to start building up the ecosystem, which are in answer to your question, like what are the kinds of things we should be doing? It's all the things that we're gonna be working on together, and there's momentum, right? Like, for as contentious as California forever may be, they are the only people who are trying to bring billions of dollars of investment to Solano County. That's it, right? And once they pivoted away from focusing on building a city and really pivoted to focusing on jobs, they've deployed massive resources in DC to start bringing these opportunities here, which was the catalyst that got Hyundai and Hanwha and Saab to come through. You guys may be aware, if you read our newsletter, which I encourage you to do, because on a monthly basis, I really do read everybody in, hey, here's what I'm up to. I try to be really strategic about letting everybody know so that they understand whatever the context is of that moment and where I have to choose to focus my time. A lot of it rightfully has been focused on maritime opportunity because we were able to bring a delegation from Japan and Sweden and Korea to Mare Island. I took the ferry over in the morning. I insisted that they arrive in Vallejo by ferry. I was like, this is the only way we're doing this is if you come on the ferry, because for them to look at potential assets on Mare Island, there's no better way to experience that than rounding into the Napa River and sort of seeing that all unfold. Like, it's impressive. They were impressed. And then we took them to the Mare Island Company, who gave a really impressive presentation about here's all the opportunity on Mare Island as it pertains to maritime. And we took them to Amports in Benicia because that's a really underutilized asset regionally. Right now they do what's called Ro-Ro, which is roll-on, roll-off. If you've ever seen all those cars parked over there, that's mostly what that port is used for. Amports has operations all over the United States, and my sort of threshold question to them was, are you interested in making more money?
Yeah.
And their answer was yes, because they're a for-profit company. I was like, okay, so I'm going to bring these delegations to you because you could be doing something else here other than this Ro-Ro activity, which is a very low economic value. And you guys may know that Benicia is in talks, because that reverts back to them in 2030, of renegotiating the deal with them and then also modernizing that port. Again, if we're thinking about this as an ecosystem, Vallejo and Benicia and Collinsville, they all need to be working together, rooting for each other, collaborating, because these things will rise together. It's how, Dave referenced Silicon Valley, it's like, how do clusters develop, right? If you look at Fremont specifically, when Tesla bought that Toyota plant, like, that was a catalyst that opened up all of that. Like, had that not happened, and Fremont is, it's impressive what they do down there. I can tell you that I'm in conversations with Stephen Bader, who runs the East Bay EDA. We're already working on going after a lot of resources together, and our next phase is, how do we elevate that and formalize it in a way that all these parts that we're currently creating create something where the sum is greater than the whole of its parts, where we can work collaboratively to go after resources to create this advanced manufacturing zone from Alameda into Eastern Contra Costa and Solano, because you want to talk about AI-proof jobs, it's advanced manufacturing. And we do need people with all this push for onshoring and reshoring, right? With us realizing coming out of COVID that it's not useful, that so many things that we need are only made in China. One of the biggest impediments to the growth of power is that there are certain power infrastructure pieces that are only made in China. And so there's like 2.5-year waiting lists to get these things that we need, because as you guys may be aware, with the sort of meteoric rise of AI, it's hugely, we need a lot of power. We need, all these AI data centers need power. I would say, as a personal aside, I wish sort of crypto was off the table because it's not something that any of us really need, but it also uses a ton of power. So we're all paying in our power bills across the United States for AI data centers and crypto mining, right? Supply and demand, there's only so much power. So you see across the United States, everybody's power bills are gone up. And California is the worst in terms of our utilities are 60% higher here than anywhere else in the country. So I'm trying to speak about the macro and sort of what I see and what I do and how I'll bring this into how this impacts Vallejo. I live here, as you guys may know. This is my heart. Like, I probably talk to Brad at least once a day, if not twice a day. Like, the city gets an inordinate amount of my attention, but also for the right reasons, because Dave referenced the amount of need that's here, right? There's a disproportionate amount of people here that are on social services, but also this is where a lot of the opportunity and the biggest upside is in Vallejo, and particularly now that Maritime's back on the table, we got to really, play the hand that's dealt, and we got to go when we need to go, and we need to really focus on these things and all these variables. Cal Poly Maritime, Dave being at the Workforce Board, hopefully getting this money from the state of California for California Jobs First. So just getting a lot of my attention. Vallejo is definitely a focus, a lot of that attention. I brought this because I want to talk about some other things that we're working on that pertain to Vallejo. This is sort of hot off the presses. I don't think Brad has had a chance to talk to you guys about this yet, but I'm going to jump the gun. You guys might be aware that Nicole, who's the owner and operator of Provisions, has been lucky enough, thanks to LaRussell, thanks to the relationship that she's built with LaRussell, to get a lot of attention. She's been on television, right? There's been a lot of influencers who are suddenly showing up at her restaurant and putting TikTok and all this stuff. So they have all the data from their POS. They can see how many people are coming from outside the region to eat at Provisions. She and I happen to be very close friends, and I spend a lot of money at her restaurant. I eat there a lot, and I'm like, look, you're missing an opportunity. There should be a QR code on your table because you have all these people who are coming to Vallejo for the first time, waiting for their fried chicken and waffles. They should be scanning a QR code and seeing all of the other things that are going on here. This led to a bigger conversation that we brought Brad into today. I know some of you guys may know Darren, who's our marketing manager, who's very civically engaged beyond working for the Solano EDC. He shows up for a lot of things. We're a nonprofit. We can only hold on to talent for so long because we can only pay for people to a certain point, and Darren's a rising star. So the deal that I've cut with him is, not only do I not mind if you have a side hustle, I'm going to help feed you projects so that we can make sure that you stay, because as long as you get your work done. I say that because he has bandwidth to work on this project for Vallejo, and what we're in the midst of formulating the idea around is what's like. I told him look at vtown.vibe. Is that a URL that we can get? Yeah. Something like that. That's very Vallejo. That lives maybe as a partnership with the city, the chamber, Visit Vallejo, and Main Street, but that it's this marketing effort to draw attention to the things that we have, so that when people come for the Pista, when people come for the Maker Fair, when people come for this jazz festival that apparently they're now having on the waterfront in July. I know that from a flyer in my barbershop's window in Sassoon City. This is how I found out about it, was a flyer in the barbershop's window in Sassoon City that there was this festival happening in Vallejo, because we don't do a really good job of marketing the things that are going on here. The flags currently on the waterfront are for the winged migration that was in January. So to me, the message is, when I see that stuff, is that this place is broken. Because if you don't change the flag when the event is done, the signal to me is like, this place doesn't have its shit together. So you want to talk about the things that we can do that have a big ROI. That sort of marketing and lifting up the things that we do have has a huge ROI. So I know that you guys have some resources. We're trying how to figure out how to fund this effort. I think it's something that would be appropriate for you guys to fund. It's not expensive. Once Darren gets, and the pitch that I made is, don't put me on a calendar that I have to click on dates to see what's going on. Right. Give me something that I can scroll through, where I see the flyer for the Pista, I see the flyer for the winged migration, right? Someone's graphically designing marketing materials for every event that comes through here. Let's use that work in a way that's aesthetic and interesting for the way people consume information now. And also, like, there's a handful of kind of well-established restaurants in Vallejo, like Gracie's, like Provisions, like Bambino's. Is Zio Fredo's still open, or are they just not open for lunch anymore? If Zio Fredo's is still open, the Sardine Can, Manny's, if you guys haven't gone to the Village, this wine bar that opened on Tennessee Street, run, don't walk, and tell everybody you go. It's the coolest thing that we've ever had. I'm like, am I in Brooklyn? Like, it's startling how cool this place is. And so I say that because we want to use this kind of thing to support those things. And when people do come here, I know that WIDA would be very supportive of supporting this because they have a vested interest in people taking the ferry here. It's their bottom line. So we could get some free real estate on their digital billboards that are on the ferries for this. And every restaurant can have a table tent around town. So that's something very local that's very relevant to what the work that you guys do. So I'm talking about the macro and I'm talking about the micro, and these are the kinds of micro things that I focus on with people like Brad and Nicole and Main Street and whoever. There's one other thing. As it pertains to AI, one of the things that came out of the conversation, and this HR1 thing is happening quickly with no guidance from the federal government, with no reporting structure, right? But it's a bomb that's being dropped, and Vallejo is going to be disproportionately hurt by this. More people will be pushed off of services in Vallejo because one of two residents in Vallejo is on some kind of services, right? So it's going to lead to more homelessness. It's going to lead to more people going to emergency rooms in an already strained healthcare system. What I think the opportunity might be is if someone has to volunteer. We know that there's a lot of 20-somethings living at home who are underemployed or unemployed. But the one thing we know is that generation who are digital natives are really facile with technology and probably really know how to use AI already because they're playing around with it. So if they have to volunteer 20 hours to keep their benefits, how do we leverage that volunteer force who's fluent in AI to maybe work with some of our businesses who maybe aren't as technically savvy? I mentioned that because there's opportunity in some of these things, and we have to be smart about how we use those opportunities. And then it's, we have higher unemployment than any other county in the state because of these job layoffs. From a business attraction standpoint, that's actually good. Like, companies want to come places that have high unemployment because it means that there's excess capacity in the labor force. It's hard for us on the ground,
Right.
but when we're pitching Saronic to come to Collinsville and spend $3 to $5 billion building Port Alpha, and our competition is Brownsville, Texas, which is completely labor constrained, and Corpus Christi, their neighbor, is currently running out of water, some of these things can be positioned as advantageous, and it's just about how we see those. Yeah, I don't know how much time do I have?
It's a great question. I think we're probably close to at time. I want to give some opportunity to folks to maybe ask some questions for about 10 minutes, and I'm sure that'll guide the rest of our
listen,
conversation.
I'm happy to come back. We could have
It's a dangerous
deep, long
offer.
conversations about, this is my line of work, and it's the commission that you guys sit on, so I'm also happy to have lunch or breakfast or coffee with any of you at any point in time. Reach out, I want to be helpful. I have so much more to talk about, but, there's only so much time, so.
Great, and as my colleagues know, I have a million questions, but I will cede the floor to my colleagues to see if there are questions for Mr. Rico.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Of course. Colleagues,
I told her I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Commissioner Harrell.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you called me. I'm so sorry. And that is, gentlemen, I absolutely appreciate the level of enthusiasm that you come to speak to us with and the information that you shared. It has been invaluable, and I know why you're a success in what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
I
here.
appreciate that. Listen, I care about this place, really. So, yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, good evening. Both of you, David and Chris, thank you so much. I just want a second. This was fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm over here taking notes and just thinking about all the opportunities to connect. Something you mentioned, Chris, regarding the last comment, actually, this volunteer force and how can we connect what will be opportunity to businesses. I'm really curious about, has that taken off with any legs?
It's literally just
Okay.
an idea. Like
Okay.
we're all making this up as we go along because this thing's being foisted on us. But what I realized in that meeting that we went to together with our peers across, it was at the adult school in Fairfield, and it was organized by Health and Human Services, was there's opportunity in here, right? Like, and it's probably not the worst thing for folks to kind of give a little push, right? Like, the spirit of this, if implemented correctly, isn't bad. It's that it's so ham-fisted, it's not funded, there's no accounting, right? It's all the other things where you're like, yeah, thanks for dropping this bomb on us, but like, there's ways that we can turn this into a positive if we can figure out how to leverage the opportunity, for sure.
And
Yeah.
what supports do you all feel like you need to be able to take those ideas and execute on them effectively?
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's work together on what these possible programs might be. I mean, I'll build on some of the things that Dave shared with you. The sad reality is a lot of the money that Dave has access to doesn't set him up for success to help people get jobs, because it's very strongly mandated that it has to lead to a placement. So I'll give you an example. A lot of the people that are coming out of Harbinger who have had, I don't know, I think there's still a slim chance. I think they're still trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat, but to keep those jobs. Have you ever visited what used to be called Factory OS? Like, they work with formerly incarcerated people. It is a super diverse workforce. If you go in there during shift change, like, you couldn't art direct this better, this United Colors of Benetton that's streaming past you. And people, you can tell, they're not like clicking their heels, but like, people are happy to work there, right? It's good work. A lot of those folks are going into programs to train to be truck drivers because there's a need now in the short term. We know if we pay attention that there's not a long-term need for truck drivers. But it's a job, these people have mortgages to pay. They're scrambling. That's a job that they can get right now, and it's something that his organization can fund because it leads to a placement. But it's pushing people into the wrong place. And it's so short-sighted the way that this funding is structured, because we should be training them into things that we can't guarantee that it's going to give them a job, but it's going to set them up for success better than training them to be a truck driver. So I will say one of my goals, and I don't know if you guys, I was fortunate enough when it was revealed that California Forever was not China, because everybody thought China was buying up all the land around Travis Air Force Base. I don't know if you guys knew that. And then the New York Times broke the story that it was a bunch of tech investors that wanted to build the city. I wrote an op-ed that got picked up by the Chronicle, and what I said, and it's the same thing that I say, and it's what Cassandra James and other people who understand the opportunity of investment understand is, don't go over us, go through us. Use your resources to lift us up along the way, and there's a way to structure the investment that they want to make so that we do get those jobs, so that we do get the infrastructure. And that's really the opportunity for us always is, don't give away the farm. Go negotiate and make sure that we get what we need. And one of my big asks of Jan, if they're fortunate enough to get Saronic to build Port Alpha in Collinsville, because they need a win, right? That 32-year-old got some of the wealthiest people on the planet to give him $1 billion to buy land. That takes some stones. Like, he's got, right? I mean, he's got a vision. Like, he might not go about things the right way all the time, but like, I admire people that swing for the bleachers. We need to swing for the bleachers, right? Is once you do that, I want to go sit down with Lorene Powell Jobs and talk to her about bringing her philanthropic dollars to Solano County. You want to know the thing that we need philanthropy. And we have a very, it's great that Leslie Yannick is running the Solano Community Foundation now. I encourage you to get to know her. We're friends with her and we support her. But we get a penny on the dollar for every dollar that San Francisco gets in philanthropy. And we have more need based on our demographics than any other Bay Area county. So that's a place that has a huge upside for us if we can figure out how to, and if we're in crisis because of HR1, We need to leverage that opportunity to go get money. But we need to be creative about the programs that we're going to design. And Brad actually comes from that world too. He used to work with the Haas Foundation, right, for a long time. We need to speak their language, and we need to design towards the kinds of things that they want to fund, but we need to go get that money. We need philanthropy, seriously. So I would say, let's focus on what those opportunities are. What are the kinds of things that we can fund? If there's a strong chance that somebody's going to buy marine assets on Mare Island. None of us know for sure, but we're hearing rumblings that Hyundai might be buying the dry docks, which wouldn't be a bad thing. They have deep pockets. They would invest the kind of money into the infrastructure that we need, that the Mare Island dry docks really hasn't had the resources to do. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Mare Island Company actually bought them out of their lease. So that control is back with the Mare Island Company of those dry docks. I think that's one of the tea leaves that we're reading to see that something bigger might be happening. But if that kind of investment comes, we need to make sure people don't get displaced from Vallejo. We need to make sure that people still can afford housing. We need to make sure that people get the jobs. That's a lot of work that we're going to need to do to make sure that, because, one of the things that I wrote about in the op-ed was there are a lot of people of color who live in Solano County because they didn't benefit from tech. They were displaced by tech.
Right.
And if you look even further into Manteca and Stockton and Turlock, there's a diaspora to there too. When you go to the Black Joy Parade in Oakland, it's like everyone comes home, but you see that diaspora return from that, right, the entire area. So we have an opportunity to do things differently here by being proactive. We need the investment, so let's make sure we cheer it on and we're helpful, but at the same time, we got to do our due diligence to make sure that we're looking out for people here. More things that we can sit down and have conversations about, but these are the kinds of things that I think about. It's the kind of things that I know Brad thinks about. We were talking about this today. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rico. I have a couple of quick questions. One, I'll just plainly state, I think that we should follow up a little bit offline about some recommendations this body can make around HR1. I said that earlier with Mr. Hubble's presentation. I think that would be a good use of this body's time. The second question that I'm curious now, I'm going to read this quote because I think it'll get to my point a little bit better, but San Francisco has a chief economist, and the chief economist was quoted recently as saying, if you think AI is this amazing productivity pill, just take the pill and don't lay off anyone and just double your revenue. So my question is, right, but what we're reading, right, and I think the point of his quote was that, but instead what's happening is that you're seeing a lot of layoffs in favor of investment in data centers. Right. And there was a lot of discussion around data centers in Rio Vista recently. So I'm curious to know, since we're a recommending body, one, what you think of that development, one, and its impact on.
Should we consider data centers?
Should we consider them, or if there's anything specific to that one?
There's a kind of data center that we should consider. We should consider inference data centers that are used to support industry that are proximal to that data center. Those are smaller. I wouldn't support a hyperscaler data center.
Got it.
We already have power and water issues. I don't think we're the right places for it. I do think there are other places in the county that if there was a community benefit agreement, it's all about what you negotiate.
Right.
If they're going to give you $14 million a year in community benefit, you might take the hit on the jobs per acre if you can use that money and leverage it for something else, right? Like, we're in a position to negotiate.
When you say we, are you talking about the county or are you talking about Vallejo?
No, I'm talking about the county writ large in terms of, because data centers want to be here.
Right.
They for latency reasons, they want to be proximal to Silicon Valley, so they're looking at Eastern Contra Costa and Solano. They started calling me 2 years ago, and I was like, nobody wants this here. I'm just telling you, none of us want this here because there's no jobs. You're going to gobble up valuable industrial land that we need to monetize.
Yeah.
Right? We need to create jobs and revenue from those. So, yeah.
And then my follow-up question to that is the point is that since I know that you're speaking to a lot of businesses, I imagine, who are looking at the region, are there any of these businesses that are thinking about how AI is an extender of industry, about who they're hiring as a result of AI. And I'll maybe speak plainly, I think for me, I don't necessarily think these industries are AI proof. I think they're all going to be using AI.
Yeah.
I think maritime's going to be using AI.
Yeah.
I think all of these industries will, inevitably.
They should.
But the question is like how they're using them and if they're actually going to be providing jobs locally. And
Right.
so my question to you is if there are any industries that you think will bolster employment as a result of AI.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can't pretend to know the answer to that question. I mean, it's obviously the kinds of things that keep people like me up at night.
Right.
But I mean, listen, so I can tell you one of the things I wanted to mention is that, Derek Kirk was hired at Cal Poly to be their economic development guy. You guys should get to know him. He comes from GoBiz. He worked under Dee Dee Myers and Stuart Knox, who's the labor secretary. Dee Dee runs GoBiz. So he's their prodigy. And they have a vested interest in his success. It's not surprising that he came to Solano County because he sees, and they all see what the opportunity is here for advanced manufacturing.
Right.
He's a really smart, big picture guy, already talking about how do we get more resources here. Because one of the things that Dave needs help with and we need help with is all of a sudden, Vallejo closes or Budweiser closes. We're kind of trying to hit a piñata with a blindfold on. We don't really have the data to understand what is the job that we could train this person for right now, right? We have some ideas, but we're not as facile with that. It's something that, frankly, that AI could help us
Could
with.
actually help with
Honestly,
some of that data synthesis.
It could help us have a better understanding of that because we need to be smarter about those kinds of things. We need to have a better idea. When Square lays off 4,000 people on a Tuesday.
Right.
Do any of those people work in Solano County? I have no idea.
They do.
Right? When Oracle lays off, how many people did they just lay off? 20,000? Something? I don't know if Meta's laying off 20,000.
Right.
I don't know if any of those people live in Solano County because I don't know, are the knowledge-based workers here or the people who are a little bit more AI-proof here? I don't know.
Right.
Right? It might be the case that you can't lose the folks who live in Solano County who are working at your company, at least not yet. Right? It might be people higher up the food chain, like lawyers are going to lose jobs because you don't need to write contracts.
Great.
And that's somebody who spent 7 years in school, right? So I say all that because we need to have a better understanding of actually what we do have, what we could have, what are the skills gaps that we should be focusing on, and then we have to go find that money that actually allows us to address those skills gaps that doesn't require us to guarantee a placement for the work that we're doing, right? And that's where it becomes more economic development, honestly, is when you get more to that foundational, building the foundation as opposed to responding to a crisis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I want to
You're
say I'm sure
welcome.
that we could talk into the evening, which we often do. So you're all invited to stay.
Are
if
you
would
guys
like.
allowed to gather as a group outside of here, or is there a brown?
We can if it's noticed, I believe. We have the city attorney with us if she would like to take and answer that question.
I say
just
all that
believe we have
because
to notice
I
it.
have a bar in my basement, and I would happily, in a casual way, host you guys for a drink and a conversation about this.
If Attorney Nebb would allow us to notice that meeting.
Sorry. Yeah.
Or would I have to
you
invite
would not
everybody?
Be able to, sorry, you would not be able to, under most circumstances, notice that meeting. It would have to be open to the public. It would have to be published. The location would have to be
All
accessible
right.
to the
Well,
public.
No, you ain't doing
it
it.
was an idea. But
Now,
two of you at a time I could meet with?
That you could do. There you go.
All right, well, 3 at a time. You guys are going to be invited. Yes, you're going to be invited to my basement, and we'll have further conversations. I'm
Fantastic.
happy, obviously, to talk about this.
I-
Listen, Pippin was my realtor,
Those
and
would
when I
need
bought...
to be somewhat one-sided conversations. The commission cannot, through an intermediary,
Thank you, Attorney.
reach collective
Well,
concurrence. That would be a violation of the Brown Act.
Okay.
Got it. Well, the thing I wanted to say, I wanted to thank you. I think we have collectively a lot of expertise here in small business, in economic development, in our education and training pipeline, in AI.
Right.
And so I think that we have a lot of homework and a lot of opportunity to follow up with both you and Mr. Hubble, and certainly we'll do that, I think, in the weeks to come, particularly around, as I mentioned, some of these recommendations. The other thing that we're charged to do, as you had mentioned, we do have small amounts of budget to do pilot projects. I think that that's a second component.
project right here.
And then the third piece of it, I would just highlight, is that this commission is also responsible for supporting, this is probably the broadest of our charge, the economic development strategy for the city. We are supposed to be supporting that, making recommendations, et cetera. I think that's probably the broadest swath charge that we have.
Yeah.
What that looks like, I think, is still to be negotiated. But thank you so much.
Support market rate housing on the waterfront. That's my advice.
Okay,
Yeah, get young professionals here who can shop downtown and drive the economy. Yes.
great. Well, we'll definitely have you back. That concludes item 6B. Thank you so much. All right, colleagues, I want to make a quick note that we are at 7:23. Hopefully what we will do, I'd like to move on to the next commission item, report from the commission secretary, the economic development director, and the committees. So with that, I think I'll pass this along to the ED secretary.
Well, good evening, Vice Chair, acting as Chair, and Commission. I will make it very brief. You have a very long agenda, so I will not take much of your time. I just wanted to hand out the badges for some of you that are missing badges. I wish that I had given you this a lot earlier, but here they are. They are beautiful, and you will wear them proudly, I am sure. Just wanted to just say about that these are strictly for commission business. You can't just wear this badge when you are not conducting commission business or at a meeting, for example, when you haven't been delegated to be a representative of the commission for that meeting. If you have questions with the use of these badges, send me an email, give me a call, and I can clarify any gray areas as best I can, or check in with whoever I need to check in with. So that's that. I do have an attendance report to also share. If you find any discrepancies on this report, please let me know and I will make the correction. This is important because attendance is a big part of who can continue to participate on the commission and who can't when you violate the attendance policies. And last but not least, I know that sometimes it is easier to have a hard copy of certain documents. I printed out a few work plans, 2025. I know that you all have access to them through the website, the EDC website. But if you want to take home a hard copy today, come to me after the meeting or just grab it, and I have those. And then the last thing is I did want to show something on the website, and it relates to your current work, your matrix that has been developing, and we've talked about having that access for everybody easily available. I just wanted to show you where it's at in the city's website. So as you could see, you go there, find the boards and commissions. You have your own site, and there it is, the Economic Development Commission. After that, that's very general information that pertains to most commissions, that template at the front page. But if you go into the information page, that first blue link, that gives you your own personal website. And this is one that the commission has been working on for a couple of years. It hasn't gotten a lot of new info, I would say, in the last year and a half or so. I think it's ready for an update. But I wanted to show you way at the top, the top, where you say right under Economic Development Commission, it's open, that's wonderful. You click here for current work, And there you find your Vallejo Economic Development Commission work tracker. So there it is. If you want to see, that's kudos to Vice Chair Garcia working on this. And it's there. So if you ever want to see where one of your items is and standing, yeah. And the goal is, of course, to move the priority items forward to the right into the served column. So those are my updates.
Thank you, Secretary. We'll move on to, do we have a report out from the ED Interim Director?
I'll be really brief. I've now been here, as of yesterday, 4 months.
Congratulations.
And my enthusiasm grows every week. I was at the Art Walk last Friday, and we saw 4 new businesses. So there's a sort of fabric, yarn, and local gift shop at the corner of Virginia and Marin, and it replaces what was somebody's studio that you could see in, but there's nothing ever going on inside there. So that's really exciting. Just next door to that, there's a coffee shop that's being worked on right now that will open soon. It's got paper there now, but they're actively working on it. Then across from Anchor Pantry, there's a storefront that just opened that's, I think, called Mad Youth, and it's a clothing designer who's working with local youth to make clothing to sell there and to create activities for local youth. And if you keep going up Marin and take a right where Brickmania is, there's a place, it's still a little ways off, but it's called Stinky Cheese.
Yep.
And they had a band out front, and they were giving samples of their cheese. And it was funny because I met the owners, and they have the same names as me and my wife. So I'm Brad, my
Great.
wife's Erin, it's Brad and Erin. And along that same lines, my wife was talking this morning. We live in Belmarin Keys, a very nice neighborhood at the other end of 37. We have a saltwater lagoon in our backyard with heron and egrets and all of that. And she was excited because we're putting our house up for sale. She's getting the photographs ready to put it up on the websites. And tomorrow we're looking at a house here in Vallejo. We're going to move here.
Wow, fantastic. Congratulations
If
and
this
welcome.
If this house is as nice as it looks in the pictures, we'll probably put an offer in.
My God.
And I'm really excited about a 5-minute commute
Heck yeah.
down
Wow.
here instead of, I have a nice commute. It's only 25 minutes because I'm going the right direction.
Okay.
People coming from
Right.
the other side to Marin, it's an hour and a half, but when you go reverse commute, it's only 25 minutes, and tonight it'll be 25 minutes going home. But I like the idea of
Fantastic.
being able to walk here and walk to Provisions and walk to Bambino's and
Let's
walk
hope
to,
that it happens.
Well,
The
hopefully
Empress
we
Theater.
And
get
we
to see it
welcome you.
3
that's
at a
my
time.
report.
That's beautiful.
Fantastic.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure. Commissioner Harrell?
Hi, Madam Secretary. You know, we see a Kanban report of projects, and they get moved as progress is made. Is this something being adapted throughout all commissions and departments in the city? Or is this unique to this particular commission?
This is unique at the moment to this commission because not to my knowledge, other commissions don't track their future agenda items as we have been doing. So, you know, we've been particularly in the last year and a half really tracking those. We added that item to the agenda. Remember, it wasn't there as a recurring. So, and then further, just recently, because we have the skill set of Vice Chair Garcia, able to create it, right? I mean, remember I was showing you a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet worked for me, but it didn't really get shared out. And so this one is live. It's shared out. You guys had requested that it be available and handy, and she worked on that. So it's unique to the EDC right now.
And I appreciate that. You know, one of the opportunities, or shall I say, one of the things that I would perceive that commissions that have members with significant expertise, many times expertise that exceeds staff, quite candidly. You know, I hear about best practices all the time, and this is not a new iteration, a new process or a tool out there. And so may I ask that this be, we have a new city manager, perhaps he'll push it in. May I ask that this be done across the board for project tracking and understanding, clarity of understanding of what's going on. We talk about public works and the challenges, and I have spoken specifically recently about expending money for issues out of Measure P. We haven't been spending enough money of the Measure P funds on road repair. And in a conversation with our city council person and our liaison, Councilmember Matthias, he's indicated that we've been spending about $11 million a year since the implementation. Well, that's more than 50% of the money going towards roads, and everybody's screaming. So we have a real problem in not getting the word out. But holy mackerel, if we had a tool like this that citizens could see, they would actually be able to say, wait a minute, there is work going on. It is happening in a much easier to comprehend manner.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent recommendation. I mean, it's a visual, and it records what projects are in the pipeline, which projects have been delivered.
Please.
And it can stay there, easily accessible. Definitely, we will share that with the new city manager and see where it goes.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrell. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Great. I want to make a request, if possible. Item 7C is a report from the ad hoc subcommittee. Because we have so many action items on the docket that are actually related to this ad hoc subcommittee, I'm wondering if we can go ahead and move to 8. Any?
Take a motion or
City Attorney, any objection to making a change to the agenda at this point?
Sorry, had to unmute. No, the commission can decide to skip items or, and I think that was the suggestion, just move on to the action calendar and take the reports from the actual action items from the same committees.
Great. Do we
Did I
need to make a
understand that
motion to do
correctly?
that?
You do to skip over the 2 items? Are you intending to come back to them or just skip them entirely?
Well, I'm looking at C. I should check in with our subcommittee on B, which is Sonoma. Okay. Well, let me check in. I'm going to propose that we, because it is 7:34, that we include details from the subcommittee for business retention and expansion, focusing on Sonoma Boulevard, that we skip that, and that we also skip item C, the report from the ad hoc subcommittee for civic innovation, with the idea that we have many of those items actually in our action calendar. Would anybody like to second that?
Is it second?
Vice Chair Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. I'm also going to make the recommendation, because Chair is not available, that we skip over and postpone till next meeting, which is in June. Item 8A, and I believe that we can. I do know that this is a budget item, but I do believe that we can skip over it because we're slated to present on June 23rd. Is that correct?
For the council?
Correct.
Yeah.
Do we need to have this decided now, or can we postpone it to the? I know that doesn't give you an ideal amount of time. I just don't know that we would be able to answer many of those questions without Chair.
Yeah, I understand. So it wouldn't be following the standard timelines.
Okay.
Right now, we're good. So the timeline to submit the item is it expires on the 18th, and then starts the process for all of the content, the staff reporting, the routing, et cetera. Without that, I can't work on anything. So you're asking that we come back June 10th, work on that item, and then go to council on the 18th. That is expired. That is already beyond the timelines. I mean, unless your subcommittee gives me info about this item, but really does this coming week, then I can continue with, and again, I mean, Attorney Nebb, the subcommittee, there is a subcommittee working on the details that they were going to discuss today. If they don't discuss it today and the subcommittee actually makes those decisions, they can feed that to me, right? So I can go to City Council on the 18th?
No.
No?
So, no, because the commission will have not taken action on it. So, can I ask a couple of questions to try to help figure out how to make this work?
Sure.
The meeting, the June meeting with the city council is what as an agenda item?
So the intention of going to City Council on June 18th is not budget related, it's the city speech related to approve the contents on the banner. Since the budget has already been approved, but my understanding is because the item touches upon.
Understood.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So, the council has to approve the appropriation and from your budget, but they still have to approve the expenditure, or staff does. But the speech that you're intending to put on the banners would need approval. May I then suggest that you have two ways of addressing it? One, the commission's next meeting is how many days before the council meeting?
7.
Okay. So you could do one of two things. Leave the item on the council's agenda for the council June meeting, and present your report out of your June, the meeting that is 7 days before, orally to the council rather than in a staff report. The staff report could say the commission will come and orally present. So you could do that. Your other option would be to hold a special meeting between now and the June meeting, where you take this action, which is always authorized, if you want to call that a special meeting.
Alternately, could we, if we left this on the action calendar, could we vote on utilizing EDC budget funds without the authorized said banners? So in other words, we're authorizing as a commission to spend the money, which is on the agenda. But what we're lacking, frankly, is we don't have the details of the design or the quotes needed to fully execute item 8A. And so, which is why I was suggesting that we move it. We could approve as a body that budget amount, however. Did we already did.
What it essentially is you would take up the second sentence, direction to staff on providing a memorandum to the city manager requesting a city council agenda item to authorize said banners. You can still do that. And then the banners, as will be presented at the city council meeting, and provide direction to staff. So you can just modify this item by saying the requested banners will be presented at the council meeting. The problem is you won't have a meeting before. You will have one meeting before now and then, so that you can look at them before you make that and make a decision before you make that presentation.
Sorry, Commissioner Harrell. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I was going to.
So that I understand, I think for the body, you're indicating that we can move on to the next item within this action calendar item and approve the expenditure, but have the artwork or graphics presented at the next meeting for agreement by the commission that will then be presented to the city council at their meeting. Is that?
Before we.
Is what I'm saying. You could do that.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, I just wanted to chime in as part of the committee. So we do have graphics that we would like feedback on. I think the specifications from the printer about the sizing is what we're still, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's the sizing. I think I think there's some questions about design, but I'm not clear because I
Right,
think Chair would
right.
need to weigh in on that.
Yes, I know Chair isn't here, but is there an opportunity to at least get the committee's or the commission's feedback on what some of those what's in that folder to just see if we're on the right track, if any changes need to be made in preparation for the next meeting?
Are we able to send those around and then move on this motion? Does that feel tenable? Secretary, are we able to send those designs around in advance of the next meeting?
I'm sorry, you're saying send them out now to discuss or for?
I was saying to discuss now, but if not, because we don't, yeah, I was saying now to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to just confirm if they are okay and any feedback. Because the thing is, if they're not, then we don't have time to make the changes and just to make sure that
Sounds
Secretary.
good. Just open up the item and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like we don't want to stray from the item. So what I'll do is I think we need to open up for members of the public first, though, since we're not skipping over the item. There you go. And then go to the item. So I'll just go ahead and read my preamble here, which is members of the public wishing to address the commission on action calendar items are requested to submit a completed speaker card to the commission secretary. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Any speakers?
Through the chair, no speakers signed up to speak in person, and no speakers logged in at this time.
Okay, fantastic. Maybe what I'd like to recommend is while we queue up 8A, can I have a motion to move on to 8B so that we can take some time to queue up some of the banner designs? Does that make sense to everybody? So I'll make a motion to start with 8B.
Second.
Okay, fantastic. Do we need to vote? Okay.
I'm taking the items out of order.
I'm sorry, attorney?
You are asking as the chair to just take A and B out of order.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
As long as there's no objection, you can do that.
Okay, great. Commissioner Gonzalez and Commissioner Williams, are you okay with moving on to 8B?
Yes.
Does that work? Great. So we'll go to the report from the Subcommittee on Civic Innovation and Technology. A string light project, including locations and types of lights, direction to staff on providing memorandum to the city manager requesting the purchase of said lights, utilizing EDC budget funds appropriated for the same, and authorization of staff time to install. So last week, we discussed a downtown string light project. I may be able to share that on screen, or I can at least talk through it. As you know, I'll just sort of refresh and recap really quickly. What we would be voting on is a report and a memo, and sending this memo to the city manager, the incoming city manager, requesting the purchase of the lights, of the materials, and using EDC funds for that. So last week we received, we discussed the lighting project. We talked about that would be on Marin. That amount is $7,500. We have 2 approaches that are outlined, one that includes plug-in lights and solar, and an itemized and aggregated budget.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Which block of Marin are you talking about?
That's a good question.
Because there are lights on Marin between Georgia and Virginia now.
I think somebody had mentioned that to me. I think that was the original location. I mean, we could move the block. Do you think do we need to have that level of specificity to vote on this item, or can we work with Public Works on that? I think we could take recommendations now. It's fine.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was here during that meeting, and Marin Street was the whatever designated or whatever.
Right.
And I was curious as to why Marin Street. I understand it's an active street. I understand there are people there, but Georgia is our core, and from the core we branch out.
Sure.
So is there a reason that the subcommittee selected a specific, effectively side street in, in the downtown, as opposed to using the core, and then as that pilot proves itself viable,
Yeah.
stretch out, branch out spiderweb style?
I think it's a good question. I think if I recall some of the exchanges that we had around this, it was really just principally because of businesses in and around that area. But I don't know that there was, and at the time, there wasn't any lights, I think, when we started this discussion on Marin Street at all.
Okay.
So I think that that was really the extent of the rationale. But certainly, I think if we wanted to move them, I don't think that there's a strong pull.
Yeah,
on that.
I just wanted to put it on the table that Marin has a life now. It's got life.
Right.
We've got to bring life to some of the other streets, and in particular, our main streets, our main thoroughfare. That a perception that I have.
Commissioner Harrell, doesn't Georgia already have string lights as well? A couple of blocks?
Couple of blocks.
It might be a couple of blocks, and I'm not sure the effectiveness of it because we're asking the question, don't they? So, and part of this also is, in my mind's eye, it aligns with the idea that we'll be speaking of shortly relative, I don't know if it's been tabled, the banners that we'll talk about shortly. Banners were to go up on the Georgia Street Boulevard. Well, lighting going with the banners seems to be a significant combined effect as opposed to a piece here and a piece there and then try to measure success. So it's just thoughts I'm putting out.
I have no opposition. If you want to amend, we can make that amendment in the memo. Any other, Commissioner Williams, did you have any? No? I think with that, and
Do we have to assign the street, or can we say? to
at
be
the
determined?
direction,
Yeah,
recommendation of
yeah,
Public Works,
yeah.
I'm okay with that. And in fact, I think the proposal recommends a walkthrough with the Public Works team. So that's part of what we are requesting before we install, is doing that walkthrough with somebody on the commission. Director Paul.
No, I was going to suggest that a group of you go on a walk, because I walked to see if they're on Marin. I couldn't remember. And I believe they're on Georgia, but they go from, I think, Solano to maybe Sacramento. And if that's the case, the block from Sacramento to Santa Clara is going to get a new park before the end of the year. And there's a real effort to try to fill up some of those buildings that are being renovated right now with new businesses. So it might be that might be the next logical place to kind of bring the lights down toward Mare Island Way. But I think it would be good for some of you to walk around and look at the different options before you
said-
make a final decision.
You said Sacramento to, what was the?
To Santa Clara, I
To
don't
Santa
think
Clara.
there's, I'm going to go check at lunch tomorrow because I want to find out. But I think the idea of sort of really reinforcing Georgia as the spine, because it also goes all the way down to the ferry building. So the idea that I know you talked about with the banners is to fix the banners that are there now on Georgia so they get, when an event's over, it comes down. The ones that are kind of faded get replaced. But also, if you could take the banners all the way down to the ferry, then when people get off the ferry or come out of Manny's Restaurant or Panama Bay Coffee, they see these banners going up the street and go, oh, I wonder what's up there. That's sort of kind of the theme of what we're talking about
Yep.
with the pop-up events and some of our pilot programs in economic development as well. But I think it would be great if we could just, a group of us, walk around and just see if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's great. We can include that in the memo. And I think to Commissioner Williams' point, I think we can leave the street agnostic until we do that walkthrough. But with that, barring any objections, I'd like to make a motion to provide a memorandum to the city manager requesting the purchase of said lights, utilizing EDC budget funds, and appropriated for the same, and authorization of staff time to install. The amount of our budget, that would be $7,500. Can I get a second?
Second.
Very good. Vice Chair Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I just want to congratulate everybody. I think we've voted on our first project as a commission, our first budget item.
Make a comment.
Yes, Commissioner
I want
Harrell.
to follow up with a comment because you indicated that there was going to be a new park being put in.
Understanding is that the city voted to use some of its ARPA money. If you know where the Housing Authority office is,
Yes.
there's that kind of grassy area that's kind of looks neglected, shall we say? And there's a building next to it that has a youth center. So there is a design, and they were going to start construction fairly soon. I think Public Works is doing this, to build a brand-new park there with space for somebody to play music or to do activities there. And it has to be finished by the end of the year. That's
Use of the ARPA money.
part of the ARPA money. So my understanding is that there's a contract out, and they're about to start construction in the very near future. So that's going to be another place to activate Georgia Street. And we just did a pop-up events contract. We're in the process of putting together for a group that's going to, for one Saturday in July and one Saturday in August, the slowest Saturday of that month, do things that would connect the farmers market, which is going to extend one more block to Sacramento. And that'll then encourage people on the waterfront to come up to Georgia Street, and on Georgia Street to go down to the waterfront.
Great.
So
When we talk about lighting, and as our ED director said about, he saw advantages in using it on that major arterial Georgia Street. When you talk about going from Sacramento towards the Mare Island Parkway, it would enhance the lighting and potentially security of that area. We have significant homeless unhoused incursion on property that's taking place. One building has gone 1 year ago. It was $5.9 million in contract. Right now they're asking $2.2 million, and they've been in the building and they've stripped a lot of stuff out of it. So it won't even go for that.
And which corridor is that? So we have Sacramento to
Georgia.
Santa Clara, and this is Georgia.
Georgia Street below Sacramento.
Okay. And Director Paul, what was the other area by the park? The park is Sacramento to Santa Clara. Is that also, is it the same?
No.
It was a different
where
corridor.
the park,
correct?
where the park is?
Where the park is going to be.
The park is going to be, so as you're going down Georgia from Sacramento to Santa Clara, the same street where the
Okay.
library is, that corner, across from the library is the Housing Authority office. And then coming back up Georgia on the same, next to the Housing Authority office is that green space. It's just a vacant lot. That's going to become an actual park, a city park, between now and the end of the year. So it's an opportunity to activate with activities. There's a youth center next door. I went and talked to the people that work there. They would love to use the youth that come there every day to help activate the park. It's going to be a place where people can go have a lunch. It's going to be very pleasant. On Saturday, we can program things there as part of the farmers market, which will now go down to that, or will go just almost to that corner.
Great.
When we
Thank
use
you.
the word park, kind of the hairs on the back of the neck, is this a city property that will have grass as a park, or is it going to be provided to Greater Vallejo Recreation and Parks District?
I'll find out. I'm assuming that it'll become an official city park. Does that mean it automatically goes to?
I
Parks?
don't know. I'm throwing the question on the table.
I will find out and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. I'm just keeping our eye on the time, so I'm going to keep us going. Over back to 8A, barring any objections from the city attorney to discuss our banner project, I'm going to share this over to Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, good evening. Thank you all so much. So the Civic Innovation and Technology Subcommittee, which includes Vice Chair and Chair and myself, have taken some time. Thank you for your leadership around there are 6 different options for what this will look like. And so over the next 10 minutes, just wanting to garner your feedback, thoughts around how do these look, recommendations. And so I'll go through them. This is the first one, the capital steps. Then we have number 2, which is the Carquinez Bridge. And again, the theme of 175 years is what we agreed on during our last 2 meetings. Number 3 is Empress. Number 4 is the clock. Number 5 are the sailboats. And number 6 is the ferry. Thoughts, ideas, I can show all of them here so you guys can see. They'll be small, but I can go back through them.
Do you want to share yours or no?
Sure, I did have another one. I can share it. But yeah, I can pause for feedback and questions.
This is a safe zone.
Thank you.
If I could just add
Go for it.
something, there's a couple of things that I would like to speak plainly around. One is that I think we did get some feedback about colors. I think using photography versus using some of these are AI generated illustrations. They are not artistic works. I know that has been of interest and sensitivity, I think, here in the community. So I just wanted to name that and, see if this committee or commission is interested in discussing that. That's not necessarily the objective, I think, of these banners, but I think that it's worth noting since we've had some discussion around murals and other generated artwork. I think we can if we limit the discussion to, let's aim for 8 minutes.
Perfect.
8:05. And Commissioner Mitchell, did you want to add anything?
Yes,
really quickly.
I just wanted to name, I do have a few other options that are a bit different from what you just saw earlier. So thank you for naming, our use of, we're being technologically advanced and trying to, as efficient as possible. So here are some other options, but I open it up to the floor for feedback.
I know that the artist community has a challenge in the idea that new artistic tools are being presented or coming forth as a result of technological advancements. There wasn't an airbrush at one time. There wasn't a computer to do graphics on at one time. And in each iteration of these new developments, there was fear by artists of the era that it would wipe them out. An artist that has true talent isn't going to be lost. AI is going to be there. They will use it or not. So I'm not as gravely concerned about that for that. If I can go specifically to the imagery, these images, being AI, don't bother me in the least. I think that we would spend a lot more money, and if we are going to be conscious of the costs of doing business, the cost of doing anything, with a $30 million deficit that we have to, a shortfall that we need to figure out how to make, we got to use every tool in our arsenal. Grommets aren't going to be needed on pole banners because there'll be pole pockets, or what are called pole pockets. Okay. Secondly, our past, our present, our future is going to be too small because the visualization of that from a distance, it's going to be microscopic, very tiny. The images that you shown after you made the presentation of these images had much bigger, bolder text and would be easier to understand and see quickly. The reality is we don't want somebody to have to study an image. We don't want somebody to have to study an image so long that they run into the back of somebody in front of them. And when they look up to see a banner or look up to see signage, it's literally a half a second, 3/4 of a second. And the size of the lettering is what reduces the amount of time that they have to see it. That being said, I prefer the banners here with some refinement if it was up to me, but I prefer the banners here that are on our screen now, the 3 banners. I prefer those over the other ones. The other ones are nice, but they're not, they don't quickly and visually grab my attention. I'm not sure if you need to have the word Vallejo at the top when you have it at the bottom. I don't know if you have to have the word city of. It's just Vallejo, California. you also have City of Vallejo in the logo there. So you could actually drop it and just, you got California, City of Vallejo, California is in the logo, so that entire line of text would drop off. Vallejo Pride, established 1851. I think that's a good one. Sorry? I would take it off. Reduce the amount of text and use it for image space. The same things apply relative to the text that we spoke of relative to the maritime city and hometown pride. I like it, but I got yellow and I got brown and black and Latino. Where are white folks? Whoever put it together. We got to have some Anglo in there. So, hey, it's just being real. So I love these conceptually. They're great. I think that I think we're moving the process quickly.
Commissioner Gonzalez or Williams, anything to add?
I like the art on both the types, but I have, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry about that. I like the artwork in both types, but I agree with Commissioner Harrell. I think the images and the text are so granular, it's going to be hard to see from 20, 30, 50 feet away. And after listening to Mr. Rico, or both of the speakers, I feel like now that I see like Maritime City, I'm like, let's connect the kids to the opportunities. Like, let's really pound the message home. And I don't know what that needs to say. I just think like, wow, we have this opportunity with these banners. And so I don't have a good solid answer. I just like, that just came up for me tonight. So I could give you more one-on-one feedback if you want.
That would be great. Thank
Sure.
you. Okay.
Commissioner Gonzalez, anything to add?
Nope, you guys have shared enough. I do prefer the second set.
Great.
I do agree with Commissioner Harrell about the duplication of the city of Vallejo multiple times. I do, however, would like, I do like the Vallejo up at top, only because if I'm trying to envision it, starting off with just 175, less people know what that stands for. It may be a little bit, unless you shift the imagery and put the words in the middle, I think that would be something some people may not pick up on. But otherwise, I do like the second set. Is there a reason why the first and the third have a different, it sounds like a different finish, or is that just for sample? That's just a
Just for the
piece?
sample,
Okay.
yes.
All
No
right.
difference.
Yeah, I'm not a big, I'm not a big fan of AI imagery, just personal preference. I do prefer some organic photography, but that's semantics, but I do prefer this second set.
Thank you.
Great.
Give me some more.
Can I actually ask, since we do have some alignment, actually it seems like around the design with some edits, I think, from this body, could we actually vote on the design and the approval of the budget, given that and Chair Monroe could finalize that?
Can we put on the record some additional recommendations?
Sure, Commissioner, if you have some.
I see 175 at the top. I would take the 175 and lower it to the bottom because it'll be close to the word City of Vallejo, 170, celebrating. I put the word celebrating in there also some kind of way, celebrating our 175th year. But Vallejo is a shipyard city. Vallejo is the maritime city. Vallejo has hometown pride. I think that those are more powerful statements than the 175 being between the city name, if we're going to retain the city name at the top, between the city name, because there's messaging in there. I don't get messaging with the Vallejo 175, the Maritime City. What's that mean exactly? It's not a straight line, simple, clear message that I see. So, and again, I'm always happy to assist in
Yes,
this stuff.
definitely. So I'll make some edits to these, and I will be reaching out to you.
Yeah, our chair
Commissioner.
our
Okay.
chair knows how to get to me. He knows how to get to me for break jobs, so he knows how to get to me.
Great. Well, I want to
But this is
appreciate.
beautiful.
I want to appreciate Commissioner Mitchell for moving this forward, for providing some really strong designs and some strong options, and encouraging us to review. I think this has been a great outcome. So, with that, would anybody like to make a motion to move this
I have
forward?
a question.
Sure.
Will you be using 3 then? 3 different images?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Or
I think we don't know how many exactly we are proposing, so
okay.
I'm open to any thoughts. That's a great question. I don't have the answer.
So I can see a couple of challenges that have to be addressed. Yes, you're correct. I think that the multiple imaging is okay. We have to determine, is it going to be a one-sided pole banner or a two-sided pole banner?
I believe they were two. Two-sided.
No, not front and back.
No,
Yes,
no,
it
no,
would be
to the
front and back.
side. Yeah.
Double side. So therefore, the designs that we see are not contiguous for the two banners, because I would think that if this looks like it's probably a 24 by 48 inch banner. So it would be 4 feet wide, and our artwork needs to expand to the size so that both the banners create a singular image, kind of like having 4 TVs and they're all synced, so that you follow what I'm saying? So that would be a piece that I think we need to
Could I make a recommendation? I want to build on, I think it was Commissioner Williams, you had highlighted the fact, I believe, about the Maritime City. Is that correct? I might recommend that maybe the subcommittee and Commissioner Mitchell, if you're comfortable, maybe working with Mr. Rico or Mr. Hubble that we're here presenting, that we connect this to some of the initiatives that they have, maybe some of the phrasing, some of the initiatives, et cetera. And I think that might outline, it seems like we're really aligned stylistically what this says, maybe with some wording, a couple of refinements, but I think we have enough here to move it forward unless
Absolutely.
folks disagree.
I agree. I think we have opportunity, even as you talk about maritime and what Chris is working on. I think we also have the opportunity to talk to the university and say, wouldn't you like to sponsor 10 banners outside
Absolutely.
your campus, 20 banners outside your campus, over on Thoreau? Wouldn't you like home of Thoreau University, home of Cal Maritime? This is clearly their marketing and advertising dollars that they would be able to part with a lot faster than we need a donation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the spirit of being chair for the evening, I'm trying to move us to motion. Would anybody like to motion this for approval?
I motion that the commission accept the banner report along with the artwork, conceptual artwork, for submission to the city council.
Second.
And well, it is a report to council, and once the report is made to council, to write the memo to the city manager with all of those details. Because you're going to go to council on the 18th of June, and if approved by city council, to then follow up with a memo to the city manager.
And the report that will be presented to city council should outline the prices and the estimated costs of the banners from whatever vendors are available.
You had previously agreed to a budget of $7,967 for this project. So if you're saying
You don't have to worry about that element.
if you're saying you're going to change it or want flexibility, that's a different thing.
No, okay.
But through this motion, it's staying then at the 7,967, or? I don't know how you can be flexible, because you can be flexible.
7967 is the
Yeah, we
total.
use the number
Okay.
that's there.
Great, but we had a motion on the floor, we had a second,
Second was
and I
voted.
think we just need a roll call then, is that correct?
Vice Chair Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell. Motion
Yes.
carries.
Great, thank you. Then we'll move on to item 8. We can. Do you want to ask it now? Relative to this? Sure. Go for it.
Attorney Nebb, with City Council, I have experience in, we produce or order to be sold banners and printing materials. It's something that I developed over many years, et cetera, and that's why I have the knowledge about them that I do. The challenge that I'm having, or it's a challenge, it doesn't have to be a challenge, but it could be, and that is, should I or am I allowed to propose expenses or propose as a vendor, this is what we can get this product for, or would there be a conflict of interest?
There would potentially be a conflict with you using your position to influence the making of a decision that has an economic benefit to you. So you would not be able to vote on that item or make that proposal, although if it went out to a RFP or RFQ out of the council to look for, the vendor that was cheapest, as long as you did not participate in this, which would mean, frankly, not voting now and not being one of the presenters of the item. I'd have to look a little bit, but I don't know if that would prevent you from responding as one of the responders.
Thank you. Then I would.
We could look at
It's not
that
enough
for
room
you,
for me
but
to
if you're
Yeah, no, I do not want to put that burden on you at all. It's the sum is not large enough at this stage for a pilot program with a gross of $7,000 or $8,000. So it's not something that we need to push at this point. If we move into a larger scale, then I would be interested perhaps, and I will then make that assessment. If I'm on the commission at that point or not, y'all might kick me off.
we certainly can get that in an opinion for you that would protect you from any, by the FPPC, that would protect you from any conflict issues, if that
Excellent.
so happens to be something you want to do later on. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for surfacing, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm calling the next number on the action calendar. Speaking of Commissioner Harrell, don't go too far. Action calendar item 8C, which is about budgeted funds in the amount of $7,000. Do we have an update there? Do we have an action to take, I think is the question, or do we want to table it?
This again was an area that I had a concern, and I'm going to express that during another part of the meeting. Conflict of interest was one piece, but I did not really understand precisely what I had volunteered to do or was voluntold to do. I'm not sure how I got on the list, but I did not quite understand it. I can provide information relative to what it costs for a photographer per hour or for events or paid imaging. But one of the critical questions that I asked, I believe it was either the last meeting or the previous one, was the repository, the storage of images. Because that's something that if there is none at the city level that the city is managing, if that infrastructure is not in place, then I don't know how we go about just, again, we're going to spend money on having pictures made that should be able to be used by any department in the city, yet there'll be who do I go to see to get these pictures? And it's just a round robin thing, as opposed to we go to our library to get the pictures, because that's effectively what it amounts to. It's stored here on this server, it's password protected, et cetera. So I had a challenge with that. I can give hourly prices of what photographer could be garnered for, and that sort of thing. If you'd like to table this until that next meeting, I can dig deeper.
I think maybe what I would recommend is that, given your suggestion about the library, and because we have $7,000, I would lean on your recommendation for what that expenditure should be and that scoping should be.
Okay.
And I think if you bring that back to the June meeting, that'll still give us time to approve that expenditure. That would be the last meeting that we would have to do so. But I think both of those things seem, and if we had a photographer in mind, all the better, right? Because then we could include that in our direction to staff.
And then the question then becomes, within the structure of the city, I know we have Manny, and Manny takes he takes a bunch of pictures. Is he, Manny, I guess, can I direct a question to him? Manny, from the IT perspective, are you the person that we would contact to say, what is the current capacity and how do we implement such a thing so that it can be proposed to council that they approve that if necessary? I guess it's a management thing, so the city manager could approve it, but he's got to have guideline. So who is the contact that we'd have within the city?
Through the chair, what I would recommend is forward the designs and everything in one email package, so to speak, to the city manager's office. You would then basically tag everybody. You would tag the ED folks, you would tag some IT folks. You can tag our director, Lance David.
Okay.
And then on top of that, with the city manager's office, including the PIO, that way we're all kind of
In the loop.
we're all in the loop, and then the they'll be able to decide what the next steps are going to be in terms of outputting that design, getting the appropriate vetting in place.
Well, this is more of a, for instance, if I were to reach out to certain artists in our community that do phenomenal work, some of them is like, it's too bad we don't have a gallery for you to have this artwork up. If I was to reach out to them and they would say, yes, you can definitely use my images. I love Vallejo. And I don't want to tell them, hey, send me your images. I want to tell them, hey, this is the site you go to, upload it to this, to the Vallejo City Community Library, whatever.
I think what supports the direction here, just to clarify, the action item here is to send a memo to the city manager.
Correct.
Which I'm hearing is part of what you're recommending. So if we could table this to the next meeting, to the June meeting, make sure that we have that on here. And Commissioner Harrell, if you have that information, however we want to divide that up, I think we would defer to your recommendation. With some discussion, of course.
That's fine.
Any thoughts, objections before I close 8C out? Great, just trying to burn us through. All right. Our next item here is on the action calendar is 8D. This is actually a report from me and a request that we have not brought up in previous meetings, but I'll read the item and then I'll explain. I'll look at my notes and my talking points on this, which is it's a request to use our training budget, which I believe, and Secretary, remind me if I'm incorrect, we have $2,000 remaining in our training budget that need to be expended by June. And I am requesting $1,500 maximum to pay for reimbursable expenses related to attendance at a conference. This conference is called the Creative Bureaucracy Festival. And it would be a direction to staff to reimburse for costs up to that amount to attend this conference. I wanted to share a couple of things about the conference. The conference is actually in Berlin. It is an opportunity for the city of Vallejo to be represented with other cities that have some of the same challenges, but also I think some of the same opportunities that Vallejo does in other jurisdictions around the world. It's a globally recognized conference founded by a civic creative, and it roughly attracts 2,000 practitioners in public administration, economic development, and sort of civil society across 50 countries. I think it's a really interesting opportunity. This came to me within the last month also simultaneously as we had been reviewing this budget. I think a couple of reasons why this conference, there is not quite the same conference and context, I think, represented here in the United States. Again, it affords us the opportunity to have some other international touch points, as Mr. Rico had mentioned, that we are already branching into. Some of these confirmed speakers include Taiwan's Minister for Digital Affairs, that look at low-cost engagement tools, low-cost and innovative ways to address economic development, permitting, et cetera. So these are other creatives that are actually practicing in the field of doing just what we are discussing, I think, week to week. I think this directly really ties to our work plan in several of the areas, particularly some of the world-class events that we hope to bring here to Vallejo. And I certainly would entertain and be interested in bringing back that information, connection points, and knowledge based on the recommendations of this group. So I'm submitting this for your discussion and approval. Commissioner Harrell? Oh, yeah, I guess I have to.
I think it's almost a no-brainer. I think that you've shown in your role as a vice chair, as your role is prior to becoming vice chair, you showed a level of dedication to accuracy and expanding on the tools that we have to use and that sort of thing. And I can only think that you would do the same relative to bringing back information for the benefit of the entire commission. So I would move that we do vote to allow this or to have this.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I concur with Commissioner Harrell.
Thank you.
Yes, I love this. I was looking it up. I was like, this is fascinating. Is there space for more?
There might be. I mean, I also took some thinking to not absorb the entire remainder of our training budget for that reason. So,
What's that?
An additional person, you know.
I think the remaining budget is only like $400 something. This doesn't cover what Vice Chair is asking, doesn't cover the full cost of the conference. It's just partial. So there is this $400. If you, I don't know if we can do that right now. We might be able to utilize those 400 and change towards it. I could ask Attorney Neb. It wasn't specified like that on the item, but we might have that wiggle room to utilize those 400 something.
Yeah, all good. I will look at the date and stuff like that, so I don't want to, in this moment, take that. But okay, very good to know. But I love it. It's a yes for me. I love it.
Now, Madam Secretary, this item is, this event that she's proposing is in June 2026. Is this something that has to go to council, or is this something that the city manager would be able to authorize?
This was already authorized by City Council for you to
Okay.
have. We've already spent $1,900 or so.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how much you've already spent using that EDC budget. So this would be just same process.
Okay.
If approved today, then we will be able to administer those reimbursement expenses related to this
So it's
conference.
just an approval by this commission? It's already been approved by council? We
Yeah,
just approved the
because
expenditure? Okay.
previously,
Thank you.
remember when former Chair Lufus proposed 4 workshops? She discussed them, and that's when you guys agreed that those would be enrolled, and then anybody had the opportunity to, once they were purchased, to actually sign up for them with the condition that, and I assume you want to do the same this time, that when that individual participates in that training, that they come back and make a presentation, so that that is shared and that we know that they've what they've learned at that conference or workshop.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the commission directs the staff to create a document for the city manager's approval, approving, I'm looking at the wrong item, approving the expenditure of up to $1,500 for reimbursement for expenses related to the attendance of our current vice chair to the Creative Bureaucracy Festival Conference for June 2026.
Second.
Okay. Vice Chair Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it. I will come back with something exciting, thorough. Fantastic. Well, then we're going to move on to item 8E as an egg, which is we're going to discuss and develop a strategy for completing a report with recommendations for City Council to attract construction, advanced manufacturing, software, film, wholesale, as requested by the City Council. I believe this was an item that Councilmember Matthias requested of us. And I believe Chairman Rowe requested that we postpone that until we had a full commission and a presentation by Mr. Hubble. I think at this time I want to check with the existing commissioners that are here if anybody has interest and or capacity in working up that recommendation, either vis-a-vis a subcommittee or individually. I'm gonna take the silence as I do not have capacity. So I'm gonna go ahead and request that we move this to the next meeting in June and hope that we have a. Should we ask some questions about the
I think
item?
there's a question about the item.
Sure. Commissioner Harrell?
Thank you. You know, how do you attract and retain businesses in the environment that we currently have? It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. We are talking about environmental conditions when we talk about lights, when we talk about banners. Those are, aesthetically pleasing environments. And businesses attracted to spaces that have more aesthetically pleasing conditions. I'm not sure what the desire of the council is or anybody that made the request for this is, because this data there should be information already available relative to this charge. And I would defer to our ED director to know is there some boilerplate of information already available relative to this particular item?
I think, and again, I'm just relatively new here, I think part of the charge, and our liaison is here, who could speak to this as well, you are all people who live and work in the community. You talk to people in the community all the time. I can go to conferences and hear what the latest thing is. I watched a seminar, which I still need to send you all, from Retail Strategies about how to attract small businesses or businesses to downtown shopping areas, that kind of thing. But that's different than your experience living and working here. So I think that as we talk about this, you would each have some ideas, and you expressed some of them tonight in talking about the banners, the lights, and hearing some of the things that Chris and our other speakers said tonight. So I think part of it is just to get your sense from your perspective of what it would take. I can only say that since I've been here, I brought a number of friends here. and my wife has brought a number of friends here, and the difference between what they think Vallejo is and what it actually is like night and day. One of her best friends, who's a very well-known documentary filmmaker in Los Angeles, is now planning to move here after having lunch here and getting a tour of the downtown. Because he hates LA. He lives in Silver Lake. He had a beautiful traditional craftsman's cottage on a hill. And it's now been torn down, not his, but a lot of his neighbors have torn down these houses, built big mansions that are now on Airbnb. And all of the small cafes and shops have all been destroyed and pushed out and priced out. So he wants to move someplace that has some of the qualities that he really liked when he first moved to that neighborhood in LA. So I think part of it is the way you attract people here is to tell the story, which you've been talking about with the banners and with some of the other things you're talking about, but also get people here and just show them what's here now. Take them around. And we have I don't think he's still here, but we have an intern that's coming who's part of the Bloomberg Harvard Fellows Program. He was here earlier. I took him to lunch. We walked around, and he was really surprised at how much activity there is. I showed him some of the new businesses, and he wants to help us for 10 weeks figure out how to attract people to the vacant storefronts. And we've already been talking, Annette's been talking to him, and others people have been talking to him about sort of data he could find for us about who owns this property, what are the sizes of these properties, what did they last rent for. There's all kinds of things, but the biggest piece, I think, is marketing. And the more people we can get here to see what's here now and take them around and give them, and you can all do this, you can take people around and show them what you love best about the city, where you think the best opportunities are, and if we have more banners, more lights, more activity around sort of the farmer's market from that kind of Santa Clara down to Mare Island Way, all those things are going to contribute to attracting people here, including sort of the home run, which is if we can get a shipbuilder to come to Mare Island. But I think often cities are always working on the home runs instead of the singles, the doubles, and the triples. And I think that's what you're all focused on is how do we get a few more businesses here every month or two? And a mix of businesses that are unique to Vallejo, where these are things you can't get. One of the things I learned, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, is there is a growing interest among younger shoppers of vintage stores. And the reason is because they're sick and tired of buying junk online that falls apart, doesn't last, looks like everything everybody else is wearing. So they go for furniture, art, clothing that's in places like Yesteryear or now the Consortium store, which is right 2 doors over. So if we can market, and there's a group of these, there's the Treasure Box, there's a place on Marin I just saw. If we can say we have a bunch of these kinds of stores, we have these kinds of really interesting restaurants, then people are going to get on the ferry, because San Francisco, I spent a lot of time there, and it's not what it used to be. It's more and more corporate, it's more and more kind of like adult Disneyland, it's stupid expensive. If we market to people in San Francisco, hey, you could come up here for the day. You can go to the farmer's market, you can go to these vintage stores, you can go to a museum. I just visited the museum on Marin for the first time. It's quite a nice place. That's how you attract customers, visitors, and business. And some people come here and say, I would love to have this kind of a store. If I do it in San Francisco, it's going to cost me $10,000 a month, plus everything else I've got to do. And I could get a storefront here for a fraction of that cost. If you get a couple of people every few months that come through here and say, hey, I've always wanted to do this, maybe I'll do it here. Those, to me, are the kinds of things that could attract business. And I think you all have your own individual experience of what it is you like about being here, what you think we need, what's missing. One idea is to do a survey of people going to San Francisco from Vallejo in the morning on the ferry, and people coming back here to visit, and just say, what is it you like about here, about the city? What is it that you think is a challenge? If you're visiting here from somewhere else, what made you come? What would make you stay longer and spend more money? Just try to get that kind of data. I think that would help us attract more businesses as well. I'll stop there because it's getting late.
Great. Any other comments on this item? 8E. Council member, welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So I made the request of your commission and of the Planning Commission to look into these areas, which are the pillars of our strategic plan. Those are the industries that we have identified through an extensive research process that we need to focus on to attract business to the city of Vallejo. There's a couple of reasons why I made the referral. Number one, for a very long time, many of the boards and commissions have complained about the fact that they have not been used as an advisory body to the Vallejo City Council. This is an opportunity for each and every one of you. Same thing with the Planning Commission, and as I serve on other commissions, I will do the same. As a liaison to other commissions, I will do the same thing. For you guys to really use your expertise to Director Paul's point, and to really think about what does that mean, leveraging my experience and my vantage point for us to have this type of industry in our city. Each one of you has a very specific skill set, and that is the reason why you sit in this commission. And so it would be very fascinating and interesting to really hear, and it doesn't need to be a whole, dissertation or any of that. What would it mean from a small business owner's vantage point to have advanced manufacturing in the city? What would it mean from a workforce perspective to Commissioner Gonzalez's background to have advanced manufacturing in the community? What would it mean from like a downtown redevelopment, through a downtown redevelopment lens to really have that, right? And so that was one of the goals with the referral. Specifically, the second point is because the city council, we are all representatives of the city of Vallejo, but so are you guys. And so you've just identified a conference you're going to be attending. If you know the specific things you're looking for in terms of site selection, investment package for a possible business, right? That conversation is an easier one when you're in Berlin. And so those are the sorts of things that I really want us to get in the habit of thinking through and like talking about in this commission too. I'm not suggesting the bread and butter that you guys have been talking about this evening, which is great. Thank you. The banners, the lighting, those things are very important. At the same time, we got to make sure we're also having that bigger conversation. And that's also the intent behind this exercise. And while I have you, there is a referral that's actually coming your way through the Planning Commission. So in the same way that I asked you guys to look at advanced manufacturing, software and film, wholesale, I also asked the Planning Commission to look at our zoning code. Are there any changes that would need to be made in any of our business districts to promote more development, to attract more business? So several of those commissioners have already produced their own findings through their own research, and that report, consolidated report, will make its way over to you at next month's meeting so that you get to opine on the recommendations that they've made, and then that report will make its way to the council. So just want to start flexing the muscle and making sure that you're all part of the process in terms of the decisions we make.
I'd like to open up a suggestion maybe to this body, one in terms of capacity. I know we've had a very large agenda, which we often do. We're very ambitious. This one was very, very large. Hopefully we'll still make it out of here by 9 o'clock, which I think is quite good. The thing I might actually recommend is that we might, and I'm looking up at the skies where City Attorney Nebb is in my upper right somewhere.
I'm here.
I'm wondering if maybe we could spend our July meeting, because that was Chairman Rowe had asked if we could postpone until July. We could have a facilitated session, a lighter agenda intentionally. That July meeting will have a lot of our budget items, I think, moved at that time. Really to actually have a facilitated session among this body to maybe just build that set of recommendations in real time. I mean, if we could certainly do that. We've spent 3 hours. We've covered a lot, I think, and we'll talk about that at the end. But I might recommend for our July agenda that we bring this back at that time with purpose and intent of actually creating it in real time, which we did for our work plan. And I think even though that was a long meeting, it was a very productive one for those of us that were there. And I'd love to know how folks feel about that. That would involve potentially maybe not being at a dais. Maybe we find another room to host this meeting. And we actually have some richer conversation about what these recommendations would look like so that we could provide something, since we're already all going to be planning to be together for at least 2 hours.
And I'll
You
just
certainly
add
can do that from a legal perspective, yes.
We can, Attorney Neb, you said we can.
Can, yes,
Great.
can, with positive, yes.
Yes, great. Council member?
And I'll just add from my vantage point, this is all new. So
Yeah.
although there's a deadline, you know, it's not something we've done. You know, the commissions
Yeah.
haven't really engaged in an effort like this. So you can take your time. My goal of setting deadlines on these things was to make sure it didn't drift out to the sea and we forgot about it. So if you need more time, that's totally fine. But I just want to make sure you guys are part of that process with us.
Great. And I think we can work with Secretary to accomplish that. And it won't feel maybe as cumbersome on this body who is already taking on so much with the expertise that we really want to retain. Great. We'll table it to the July meeting with the intent to have a facilitated session. We can update you what that will look like in June. I think I would propose that we have obviously a much lighter agenda in July so that we can actually cover point E and build it in real time. So I'll work with the chair to figure out what that can look like. That brings us to item 8F, as in Frank, adopt a recommendation on AI and civic technology to forward to the City Council. I drafted this. We discussed it last week. I would actually recommend that maybe we table this to June or subsequent months in light of some of the conversation and discussion that we had from our experts earlier this evening. We had an hour of presentation, which was a lot of information. They gave a lot of homework, I think, for us to review, including myself. And if there's no objections, I'd like to table 8F, as in Frank, the AI recommendations to a future meeting. Any objections? Great. That brings us to item 9, which is the second community forum. How are we doing? Any community members?
Through the chair, currently do not have any members of the public signed up, either online or in person, for the second community forum.
Okay, great. I'm sure you'll let us know if somebody else
Yeah, and I'll be
comes
sure to let
through.
you know if anybody signs up.
Fantastic. All right, and then that brings us to item 10, a report from our city council liaison. Council member.
I'm back. So just going to give a quick recap of action that the council took in the past month and then talk about the month ahead. So in the past month, the Vallejo City Council appointed Mr. Harry Black as our interim city manager. He's beginning his service to the city of Vallejo this coming Monday, May 16th. We held a TEFRA hearing for renovations on an affordable housing project, approved the resolution to enhance our governance structure for the wastewater district at last night's meeting. We made several appointments of residents to boards and commissions across the city, held a special meeting on all things Mare Island, including CFDs, infrastructure, and the like. A council majority approved a temporary MOU with the Scotts Valley Pomo Tribe. At last night's meeting, we approved the repavement of the 6th Street access road. We also held a discussion on a GVRD public safety grant, which we had earlier identified for approval as part of a broader crime mitigation plan. And lastly, we provided direction to city staff to do research into a short-term rental ordinance for council consideration at a future date. As we look ahead, I think you guys have heard me repeat 2 items. The budget, which we have to adopt by June 30th. We have to deal with the budget deficit. It's $28.5 million. And so we're going to be working closely with Mr. Black and the rest of his team to make sure that we set Vallejo on a stronger financial footing and go forward. And then similarly, we will continue to have, through goal setting and otherwise, grounded conversations around economic development. It is the reason why I've made some of these referrals that you guys were alluding and discussing earlier. And then we will continue to make progress around public safety. Crime continues to come down, although we've seen a spike in a few areas, namely around traffic. And we've had a few, maybe one or two homicides recently. And so we want to keep building on the progress and make sure that we're keeping the city safe. So that's an area of continued focus for the council. And that will also be helpful in our broader economic development efforts. And then lastly, I did ask for the Public Works team to cost out the repavement of all of our downtown parking lots. Just again, to make sure that as we continue to invest in our road repavement, which we have made allocations of at least $10 million the last 2 years for the record, we are also repaving other areas where there's, folks convening and then kind of leaving their vehicles to go off to other businesses across our community. So we're really focused on safety, we're really focused on economic development, and we're really focused on having a well-running city. And that is the end of my report. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Any questions from the commission, commissioners?
I just wanted to say that there's new speed tables on Wilson and Tuolumne, and I'm just so thankful, and it's fabulous.
Yes, and that's a project that our Public Works team has been really focused on over the past couple months. We will make sure that other parts of the city are also enjoying that benefit, and I know our city management team is committed to having an equitable process that benefits the entire community. So we've had some discussions around that. Wilson is first, but there are others coming. And then last thing, the Costco construction, Fairview continues. You guys have probably seen there's been an acceleration there, and the goal is to have ribbon cutting on November 1st. So you're going to see a lot of, yes, sir. We're going to be moving really fast. That's the timeline we're working on. So we're going to have a lot of work, and then there's going to be a public hearing, I think, at the end of this month on the housing subdivision that's going right behind the Costco Plaza. So a lot of discussions that are moving forward this year. We've already made some decisions on other subdivisions, but we're full steam ahead.
I have one question, barring any other submissions from our colleagues. My question is City Council made any progress on impact fees or any remunerations from any of these developments upcoming? I'm curious about what that structure looks like, since we've had several that have gone through both housing, casinos, et cetera, and we as a city have not been able to collect any fees.
I don't want to get in trouble with the city attorney. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
He's kidding.
It is a joke. Because she's heard me a million times. She's heard an earful from me on this whole thing. But the truth of the matter is, it is highly unlikely that any of the projects that are moving through the pipeline for the rest of this year will have an overarching policy that they're going to have to abide by in terms of impact fee collection for the city of Vallejo. And that's unfortunate, but we're still working on the policy. We will make sure it gets done. We should have it reviewed in the early fall, hopefully, if there's no delays there. And that will set us up for success in the future whenever we have other projects. But I have many feelings.
I'm sure you do, and so I'm expressing this not to you, but for all of us. I would just say that I find it really shocking that we can construct an entire Costco warehouse and not figure out a way to collect fees. on any development for the rest of the year. I think that that is just a travesty. So I don't know what we have to do to push on that. I would just ask my colleagues to consider that we are building whole buildings and infrastructure here in the city and have no way for it to actually benefit the public. And I think that that's really, really unfortunate.
Doesn't that boil down to the negotiations or the negotiators?
I think so.
So let's call a spade a spade.
I don't know, council
Can I-
member, if you want to go ahead and close out number 10. We have some lighter notes to
I have
close
some
the
other
meeting
questions
in.
to
Oh,
ask
you do?
him.
Okay, great. Commissioner?
You know, Mr. Rico said something that I think is super critical, and it's for whatever the reasons are within a community, it is a challenge, and that is the idea of market rate housing.
Yeah.
I'm for affordable housing. That's a kind of a confusing name to me, but I'm for housing that people can afford to live in, okay? But market rate housing draws in higher salaries, higher revenue, higher investment, higher spends at various facilities, et cetera. Is there any conversation about the addition of market rate housing? Is there any conversation by council about the addition of market rate housing? Because the only thing I hear about is affordable housing, which has
all of the projects that have come across my desk over the past year have all been market rate housing or above. So I don't see that changing.
Okay.
To the extent that, because that's what's penciling out for developers. So I think it's our responsibility, and I'm just going to speak for myself here. I think it's my responsibility as a council member to make sure that there's housing at every income level, and so affordable housing is part of that discussion.
Sure.
But what I will say is, the projects that have come in front of us have at a bare minimum been market rate. So I think that area is getting covered by the
addressed.
market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May I
other-
ask a question?
Sure.
Going back
Commissioner
to
Williams.
impact fees, I'm sorry, I'm ignorant on this, but so does Vallejo not have impact fees that go to all the development projects?
City Attorney Knapp, can you
Sure.
step in on this one? Because where my lane is, but I know there's a broader universe we're operating in when it comes to impact fees.
So the city currently collects two types of what are called development impact fees. Those are fees that are charged under what we call AB 1600, but it is a section of the government code. Those are traffic impact fees associated with collecting for traffic improvements that are throughout the city, and the city is currently updating those. So there's a study going on right now, and those have to be supported by a study based in the law. And then the other is park impact fees. We collect those as well. That likewise is subject to a new study that is going forward. We collect another type of fees that are called Quimby fees, which are based on the Subdivision Map Act. So they are for residential subdivisions alone and or properties that were previously part of a residential subdivision. Those fees are, as I said, governed by the Subdivision Map Act, and their amounts are sort of bound into that as well. So the type of fee I think that you were really talking about was an affordable housing in lieu fee. That is currently, I'll call it on the table, for lack of a better word. So staff has developed, with the team working on it, an ordinance that will be coming forward quite shortly that is essentially an inclusionary housing ordinance. The council will be looking at some key provisions of that ordinance and making some choices. Assuming the ordinance is developed, it is currently proposed to have what's called an in lieu fee program, where developers can have, either at their choice or the city's, depending on which choice the council makes, be able to pay a fee in lieu of constructing that housing Those fees could be used to offset costs that affordable housing developers have in front of them, making grants, loans, and other financial investments in affordable projects with money that is collected from the city from projects that don't provide housing, or they will have to construct that housing as some percentage of the units within their projects. That is coming forward definitely before the end of this year, and I do believe it is coming forward, Councilmember Matias, this summer. I'd have to check with planning staff on the exact date. It does go to the Planning Commission first, and I do believe that the Planning Commission has already given its recommendation on that ordinance. So the next step would be to bring it forward to the council. It may be at the next meeting or the one after that. I don't have that bound into memory. So that's where we are on that.
Thank you so much. That was great. So there's that kind of impact fee or development fee, and then I think there can also be discretionary ones like project by project, and that's sometimes where you get a community center or something like that. And when I worked at City of Oakland, we had the traffic type of fees and maybe the park impact fees and subdivisions, but we didn't have the affordable housing until after the demise of redevelopment, so they put the affordable housing stuff in there. And then there was the discretionary for some of the bigger projects. So it's just something to think about, like you're alluding to, when the big projects are coming through, what might the bigger we want to see.
It may be even something that we include in these recommendations during our July conversation.
Right. And then I was also thinking, so as somebody who's been long-term in economic development, when Oakland was implementing more systematic fees, I was like, well, let's get some money for ED.
Yeah.
And but the city leaders are pretty much, I think they tend to stick to the things we've just discussed, not add in economic development. But like economic development used to benefit a lot from redevelopment, and when those funds went away, sorry. I mean, you have to rely on your bids if you have them, and very creative financing or not having any.
So Commissioner, I think what you're highlighting, Commissioner Williams, is an opportunity for us to actually maybe reinvest in our own economic development strategy. And I think that's a recommendation that we could take forward.
Yeah.
I do want to point out for the commission's benefit is a couple of things. With regard to charging fees on an ad hoc basis for residential development, many of the, I'll call them pro-housing pieces of legislation at the state level have limited some of our ability to do some of the things that we used to do. We still have that ability under circumstances where we make an investment in the project because we can condition our investment. B, where we own land and are putting the land in. That too is an investment. It's just a different kind of investment in the project. And then C, where we enter into what are called development agreements, which are legislative actions that give the project a certain amount of years, what are called vested rights, to proceed. Those are things that, for instance, in Vallejo, that is currently applicable to, and an amendment is being proposed, or a new one is being proposed for the Mare Island project. So we do still have some of those, what we call ad hoc opportunities, but they have been narrowed legislatively over the years. So just wanted to give you a little bit of history on that to think about.
Thank you. Councilmember, anything to conclude item 10?
All the small businesses that I highlighted that were scheduled for opening are now open, all of them. So we're making progress. That's all.
Fantastic. Thank you. We're going to move to item 11, and with that, I'm going to share screen for a moment and look at our Kanban board for future agenda items. I want to give everybody a good sense of our plan for the members of the public and for other folks that may be tuning in now or later. Please keep in mind that this is a living document. It may have errors. It may need correction. This tracks all of our proposed agenda items, our work plan tasks, their status, ownership, budget, and anything that we think needs, that we need to send recommendations to council on. I think the thing that I wanted to highlight really quickly is that we have a lot of things on this board, and today alone, what we have served, just in recap, is we approved participation in the Creative Bureaucracy Festival. We approved pole banners and signage. Commissioner Mitchell, thank you so much for moving that forward. And then approval of our safety and beautification pilot. We approved that, so we will see some string lights up in Vallejo shortly. We will see some pole banners up shortly. There will be some tangible things resulting. And last meeting, we just started with a template. So I think that we're actually moving things at a really good clip. And we can actually see some of that movement here, and we'll actually be able to participate and see some of these things, hopefully in the city shortly. I bring this up now on item 11 because we're talking about future agenda items, things that we might want to add to one of these columns. And so I wanted to check in with our commissioners to see if there was anything that we should add to this board. Comments, concerns, questions, excitement? I don't know.
Are these the items that we decided to prioritize from the overall strategy?
Yeah, so essentially what we have is everything, so in the back burner and even the front burner and cooking, all of that encompasses everything from the strategy. And then there were other things that over the course of many meetings, and frankly, Secretary, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have a year plus of like backlogged items that we wanted to discuss and bring to the surface. That's also in this mix of things. The way that this Kanban board is set up is according to how we're prioritizing those things. So if we wanted to have a conversation now about moving something up that we're either working on through subcommittee, which is what cooking represents, something on the front burner, something that we want on the agenda, I'm roughly putting parameters on it, but in the next few months or so that we want to address, we've got that in the front burner. And then back burner is all of our backlogged items. It's kind of our wish list of things that we would like to address, but don't necessarily have capacity to do in this moment. Does anybody want to prioritize, reprioritize, add new items to this? And we can send out a link too. I had a QR code I think we can get out as well. But I thought this might be helpful in just kind of thinking through what we actually have. And also what we accomplished, I think, today.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to reflect on our accomplishments. Anything before we close? I was aiming for 9. I'm 5 minutes over.
Good
Okay.
job.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. We don't have any future agenda items. Any announcements?
I'm not sure if it qualifies for an announcement, but I have a concern relative to the expiring terms for a number of our board members.
Okay.
I don't know if they have the desire to continue. I don't know if they're appointed, whoever appointed them for that district is interested in them staying on. But is there anything being done outside of the relatively, and forgive me if folks, it's not meant to offend, benign process of recruiting people for these commissions, or for this commission anyway? Is there anything being done outside of the traditional past practices?
Secretary, do you have any updates other than, I know we discussed this as an item, I think last time, or last meeting. I believe we did, but I don't know if we have any updates.
For the vacancies? Is that what,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't. I didn't get any new updates. So I think that they are still marketing. That's what I understood they were doing last month, doing another round of a press release and trying to get a group, not only for this commission, but for the other commissions as well. So they scheduled the 2 councils that have been selected to do these interviews. Usually it's something that sometimes happens during the summer when the city clerk's office has a little bit of a cushion of time. I know that they've been pretty overwhelmed, but they are working on the marketing piece.
Great. I think maybe the answer to your question is above and beyond what the sort of course of action is from the clerk's office.
The
I'm not,
traditional
I'm not
processes.
aware of anything
Yeah.
else unless anybody else is. And my understanding from our last meeting is that our folks that have expirations that are upcoming may stay on the commission until
Yes.
those decisions are otherwise decided.
Yes, their purview. If they decide not to come, there's no
True.
obligation. Well, we are past the future agenda items, but would it be in the purview of this commission to make recommendations on the recruitment, the retention, the attraction of commission members to every commission? One of the things that I would believe is a challenge is that there's a broad-based outreach through the channels they use, which might be Facebook marketing and otherwise. I'm not sure that there's any truly targeted marketing for positions. Council members are advised that they can appoint someone, but council members have a relatively small cadre of contacts within their districts. And so if we're looking to get the best talent, it seems we would be marketing in a district by district way or providing those city council members with collateral material or collateral imagery that they can provide to people in their district to say, hey, look, we're going to appoint somebody. I'd love to have you guys look at X, Y, and Z. But we have to give them the tool to do it.
I think what I'm hearing is that we would like to maybe make some recommendations for outreach to join this body. And perhaps we actually do have that on our board already. But we could advance that at a future commission meeting as an item. Great. With that, and without hearing from anybody else, objections, concerns, abstentions, yes, that too. I've been waiting to hit the gavel. I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. I find all of your feedback immensely valuable. I think we've made a lot of progress. I'm really excited to have you all here. It's always good to just see.
Vice Chair, you did
Nice
wonderful
faces. Yeah, you did
in your
great.
first meet. Thank you. You led us
you.
very well. Efficient. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
9:09 adjourned.
Oh, you did it.
The judge only gets one time.
But I'm not Judge Judy, Calvin. I'm the chair. I'm the,
That's it.
I gotta practice.
Shut it down. There it is.
All right.
It died.
All right.
Here.
Yeah, this is the information. Okay, perfect.
Like you said.
Gonzalez.
Okay, and his card.
Valid cards.